This is Mike from Diatheke, and this is the KingdomCore Podcast. Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Welcome back, everybody, to the KingdomCore Podcast. Hey, Sean, guess what?
We're back. What's up?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Every episode.
It's a new year.
It's a new year.
It's 2025, and we're back with a tier listing episode, which
why not?
Might be controversial.
And
we got the most controversial man we know to join.
That is actually true.
We have Michael Osborn of the most amazing Christian band you've never heard of, Diatheke. But hopefully you've heard of
Chris,
him at this
you hurt
point.
Michael's feelings.
No, you warmed my heart. You're very sweet.
Because
that was a good I appreciate it.
Okay, gotcha.
He likes all the hipsters that listen to Diatheke.
Yeah.
I do.
Mike, would you like to do a little intro yourself, what you do in your band and what your band is? And what you guys got going on right now, too. You can plug that.
Yeah. Well, first of all, my boys, thanks for having me on here. I love this podcast, and I love these episodes. Listening to the tier episodes, I broke your heart. Listening to the last tier episodes, I just kept screaming in my car, like, "No, that's the wrong tier for that record." So I'm really excited to be on this. But my name is Michael. I play drums, and I do a little bit of vocals for a death metal band called Diatheke. And our debut album is coming out March 21st, and we just dropped our first single, I think less than a week ago. I think it was a little last Friday. By the time this comes out, the album will probably be 2 years old. But I think
if we pull a Diatheke on it, it'll probably be 10 years old by that point.
Yeah, we've been working like 10 years on this album. So, but we've sprinkled in a whole bunch of singles that you can go listen to. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah, we're stoked to have you. Sean and I have been part of a very niche group chat, like the diehard fans of this band, literally for like over 4 years. Or 4 years.
It's been that long?
Almost 5 years at this point. It was in 2020 at some point was when we joined that group chat.
It was when Splendor came out.
I
don't know when that was.
Dude, every time I get a notification, I'm just like, dude, this group is so toxic. I love it. There's so much that goes on in that group, and it's wild. I love it.
It's kind of your fault you haven't muted it yet.
Oh, no, okay, I do have it muted, but I always get like the little icon on the app that says like you have a message, but it doesn't like. So I'm like, man, what is this message I keep missing? It's like, oh, it's just this chat just keeps putting stuff out there, and I have to read it, and it's awesome. But I'm very grateful for it.
Yes, it's been a fun time. All right, so Sean, do you want to give us the premise of this episode?
Yes. So if you haven't listened to our tier list episodes in the past, hopefully you've heard of like Tier Maker or a tier list. Essentially, what we do is we take a select few bands and we go band by band, listing their entire discography, and we debate about where in their discography we think it lands on a tier list, meaning like S is the best you could get and F is the worst you can get, and then we discuss that. Typically there is a lot of arguing because we don't do it to where
between
the three
Sean
of us
and I
we don't do it to where we have our own individuals. We throw out the album, we rank it between the two of us, then we have an argument / discussion about
hey, we've had some
trying
bands
to come
where
to
we
a
were just in
compromise.
line with each other.
That is true. That is true.
Is
and that may happen
unbelievable to me that happened.
But we've done, this is what, our fourth tier list episode, I want to say.
Technically third, but the first one was just split into two, so kind of the fourth.
Okay, so this is like the third installment. I'll say that third installment of these, and we've gone through like the biggest Christian bands. So we've done like For Today, Haste Today, Wolves at the Gate, Sleepy G, Doom, all of these bands, and we're like, what about the bands that used to be Christian? You know, most controversial episode that some people still call Christian. And yeah, we're like, this is going to be controversial. And Michael is very controversial and very opinionated. So This is gonna be perfect. It's gonna be fun. We are not doing this to make fun of the bands. I want to preface that. It will be lighthearted. We are not throwing fun at them leaving the faith. We are just gonna have fun talking about their new music that we might potentially hate now or might like, even though we probably should hate it. So, Chris, is there anything else I left out?
No. I think that's it. I think we're good.
Let's introduce the bands that we're gonna do.
One quick ground rule here is that like we said, we're all a bit essentially giving our case for what we believe the tier should be, and then we have to come to a consensus. So because now we have 3 people, this might be a little easier to do if it's 2 people at one tier and, but we try and compromise it and we try and like do the average rating, I guess is what we're going to have to do. But it's going to be interesting adding a third person. But yeah, other than that, let's introduce the bands. And this is, if we had a festival, when they were Christian.
When they were Christian.
When
like
we were Christian.
When we were Christian.
Y'all remember that meme that went around when they announced When We Were Young Fest 2 years ago? Someone made When We Were Christian Fest and put all the bands that used to be Christian.
So these are one opening act and the rest are all headliners.
True.
Oh, man.
All right, so we have 4 bands. We are going to be covering Gideon, The Devil Wears Prada, As I Lay Dying.
People have stopped listening right now as soon as I said that.
And Underoath will be our headliner ending off the set. And this is going to be an interesting one. But we're going to kick it off
really
with
interesting.
Gideon.
Oh, man.
All right, boys, let's get into
Here we
it.
go.
Here we go.
Starts with costs. Okay, I'm gonna let Michael start this because when we decided on this and we said who we were gonna listen to, Michael started listening to Gideon, and he had some choice words to tell us. So you can start out, Michael.
All right. So here's the deal. Every band in this list, I am super familiar with. I listened to Prada ever since Plagues. I've listened to As I Lay Dying since Frail Words Collapse. And Underoath, since Chasing Safety. So Gideon is that one band that I never got into as a full discography. So doing this tier ranking listen through was my first time listening to their whole discography in full for basically the first time. But I had heard songs here and there, and I was like, oh, okay, it sounds like Gideon, But this is my first time going through it all in order. And, they're a band that people listen to. And I'm going to try my hardest to respect that. But coming in at costs, I have no idea, what albums the fans like and which ones they don't, because I've been hearing this for the past 2 weeks.
That's fair.
So I don't know who I'm gonna offend with this.
What was your first introduction to the band? When did you first listen to them? Was it before or after?
It was definitely at costs. It was whatever song had the music video for. I remember that dropping. I've seen Gideon 4 times on lists that I never went to go see Gideon. They were always the opener, the Great Commission or something like that. Right. No one goes to see the Great Commission. They're just always there. But Gideon was one of those bands. But Gideon is significantly better than the Great Commission. I will say that.
The Great Commission taking us astray.
Right off the bat.
So all that to say, I've listened to costs. I'm gonna go out there and say that is a C rank album. I'm gonna say it's a C.
All right.
And I don't know what that means to people, but I'm just telling you what it means to me. I mean,
that just means like to me a C just means it's mid. It's like it's not
exactly.
bad.
A C is a mid. It's fine.
Like if it came on, I probably wouldn't turn it off, but it would not be my first choice to listen to.
Exactly. That's a C to me.
The music that you make and just knowing you a little bit as a person. That's actually higher than I thought.
That's higher than I thought.
Like anything.
That's much higher than I thought.
Okay,
Chris, what do you have costs at?
I have gone off and given it a B. And,
oh shoot!
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Think.
Okay.
Like you'll understand my reasoning later on. I think as we get through this discography, but it's a solid B for me. And yeah, I can explain. I think this more later.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
This is my favorite Gideon record.
Oh no! What, really?
It is my favorite Gideon
album.
album.
Even though this is your favorite, that you're giving it an S. Please.
I'm not going to give it an S. 5 years ago, I would have given it an S. I'd give it an A today. I love this record. It was one of the very first like face down albums I ever got into when I discovered face down records, and I just loved it. It was with me during one of like the a really hard like trial in my life for a while, and it was an album that I just adored. I know musically it's probably not an A, but just out of like in the depths of my heart, it's an A.
That's fair.
It's a very close record to my heart.
I get that.
So I can settle with a B. That makes sense.
B is totally fine.
I'm not offended by that.
Okay. So I'm right, and you're both wrong.
Yep.
Okay.
That was pretty easy. Okay.
All right, we got Milestone. I'll say this about Milestone. For me, I think this is actually like, it's not my favorite record by them, but I think it's their best sound.
Okay.
So I would be very content giving it an A, but I'd also be okay with a B.
Okay. I'm also inclined with the A. I think this is tied for their best record.
Well, this is crazy because I was, because Cost to me sounds like, I'm going to be honest. I mean, I didn't even look this up before I came here, so I might be a total idiot. But I think Cost sounds way more like a Strike First record than it does a Face Down record.
That's fair.
Like it's not. To me, it's like Cost is just, it's fine, but Milestone. And it's not that I think Milestone is this phenomenal feat of work or whatever.
Tell where he's going with this. Is it going to be?
I don't know either.
But I think in the scale of all the Gideon records, in the context of their discography, Milestone is an S tier album.
Whoa.
I think Milestone is absolutely their best sounding record. And as we go through all the other records,
and so does that mean you actually enjoyed this record?
Milestone really surprised me because I remember like I never got into their discography, but I remember loving Bad Blood, and that music video is so good.
Album or that song is so good.
Yeah, like the whole music video is so good. So I think in the context of their discography, Milestone is easily an S tier, but an A tier is totally fine if that's what we agree on.
I think if we got S, A, and B, I think that averages out to an A, because that's exactly what happened with Cost. We had A,
Once
B,
again,
C.
I am right.
I'm the one that gave it an A. You gave it a B. What do you mean?
No, I gave it an A.
Oh, did you? Okay, I did too.
Yeah, you gave it an A, so it's two A's and one S.
Well, we'll give it an A, and I think most fans would agree. I feel like that is like the fan favorite.
Yeah, and
in the Christian scene.
Like
I even got it on
if
the
we
wall,
were going to
right
give an S, this would be it. But I'm gonna make an argument later for something, but I'll save that.
Okay, cool. Okay. I'm gonna make an argument too, so it's okay.
We're only gonna be arguing.
All right. Well, this is going splendidly so far.
This is gonna be fun.
Calloused, their final face down, their arguably final Christian record, but I feel like the next one's kind of an in-betweener. Calloused, I loved this record when it came out. I mean, it wasn't like this is mind-blowing or anything, but this was like 2014. This was when I was really into metal and hardcore. Like I had really dived into heavy music. I had kind of heard the first couple albums before, but like I really became a fan of Gideon around the time that this record came out. It is solid, but it hasn't like aged super well for me. But it's solid. So this is kind of, I kind of gave it a tie with Koss at a B.
Dude,
I
gave it a tie with Koss at C on mine. Okay. So
we're kind of, it's the same level.
Yeah, same level. It
sounds different. I feel like this one's more chunkier, like almost more metalcore, but not quite. Like obviously they're still more of a hardcore band.
Yeah, I felt like this record was just Diet Milestone. Like I didn't think that it did anything like differently. I felt like most of it really just sounded like Milestone.
It's like a blend of the two.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like, okay, I'm not really walking away with this record feeling like I've had like this amazing time or anything like that. It's just more like, okay, I've heard this sound before and I've heard it better on a last record, but that's just me. And, this is also the last one they had on Face Down. I don't know if it was like rushed to get done or whatever.
I think that might have been kind of part of the conversation. It seemed like they were kind of like wanting to say certain things, and like it almost, from stuff I've heard, like it almost sounds like they were almost censored in some ways, but that could be rumor. I don't exactly know, but it's just like the overall messaging of this album was kind of just like their heart wasn't in it almost.
Yeah,
kind
exactly.
of what the vibe I got.
Mm-hmm.
Sean, what are you gonna go with?
I'm about to say something that I'm not ready for the backlash.
Okay.
This is Gideon's worst record, in my opinion.
No.
Musically speaking, this record bores me to death. Wait, what'd you say?
I'm like a Charlie horse right now. Okay, it's still. I don't know where that came from.
This album bores me. I don't know. Like, the production is not that great. Like, again, it's Diet Milestone, but like very, very like. And I hate diet soda. So like, I
hate diets.
And
soda.
I don't know. So. This album, it just bores me. Like, I've tried to go back to it throughout the years, and I give it a listen probably every couple years, and every time I'm just more disappointed than the last. I don't know. Like Chris said, there's like it. You don't feel the you don't feel the heart. You don't feel the emotion, and that's what hurts the most to me. I think is that it doesn't make me feel anything. And I just get kind of bored. It all sounds very much alike. It blends together track to track. For that reason, I'd give it a D.
Okay, just in one argument for this album.
Yeah, go for it.
I mean, I guess it's not the album as a whole, but Calloused and Survive
is a good song. Survive, no.
Are, I think, a couple of their standout songs. Like, when I remember Gideon, like...
Yeah,
those
I get
songs
what you
are
mean.
kind of like like Survive having like the Caleb Shomo like feature. That's just,
I love Caleb to
that
death,
was when
I don't think that's a great feature.
Okay,
I don't know. I'm very opinionated on this record.
It's not the best feature. I will give you that, but it's just like they don't have that many either. But it was just like it was a cool moment at the time, and like that was right when Beartooth was like starting.
Yeah. That was 2014, so that's like around the aggressive Beartooth era.
Yeah,
where Beartooth only released 4 good songs and then all these horrible records later. Just
the last number of records I have not enjoyed, but
I don't know. I like the last Beartooth record.
I think they're so talented. It's just like I don't know, like that. First
have you seen them live? They're great live.
Oh, dude, I absolutely, like, they are a total, like, they're super talented, but they sound like a product, and
no, that's fair.
It's not my thing. But people like that. Like, I prevail. I don't get it, but
Okay, so
I'm okay with this set.
What
did
were
you guys say? B? You guys both said C, right?
I said B.
I said C.
You said C,
Okay.
and did
I
you
said
say D or E?
I said D. I think E
So
is the most pointless tier on a tier list, and I refuse to use it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I did the same thing.
so that means that this is a C.
Yes.
Yep, I'm
makes
totally
sense.
fine with that.
This
I'm
is
cool with
almost
that.
easier having a third person, so we can
Yeah,
just,
this really is.
Man, it's not going to be easy for the next couple bands. I'm gonna let you know right
man.
now. I have no stake in this band. I really don't.
Okay.
You know, but here we go.
Oh,
You're
man.
being a lot more reasonable about it than I
Yeah.
thought you were going to be, so it's just good.
Yeah.
Just knowing your opinion.
It's just, I know. I can be.
He's trying to make a good first impression with the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Please go stream Diatheke. Our new song, "The Promise," is out now.
All right.
Oh, man.
Cold.
This is a good
Your
record.
opinion's cold.
I like this album a lot.
I like this album.
It was my first new Gideon record, like as a current Gideon fan, because there was 3 years between Calloused and this, and I became a Gideon fan probably in 2016, I want to say. So I remember this album coming out and really enjoying it a lot. That being said, I don't go back to it that often just because I don't go back to Gideon that often anymore.
Mhm.
At the time, I listened to it a lot. I think it's very solid. I give it a B.
Wait, sorry. What did you say?
I give it a B as in boy.
Okay. Michael, you go ahead. I have a short story about this record I got to share.
Okay, well, in my very limited time with this band,
Here it comes.
this album is like it's like on a good day, like a D.
What?
I think this record, like, okay, do you know? I kind of compare this to 100th in a way, where
Good band.
like I like 100th. I feel like their shoegaze stuff is way better than any of their hardcore stuff. But
Agreed.
but I feel like as 100th went on, you could definitely tell that they were getting tired of doing their hardcore sound.
Mhm.
Even though I like their album Free, you can tell it's like even the band was like, I'm tired of doing the same thing. I feel like I'm just, I want to do something else. That's what I feel like Cold is. I feel like this, like going through this record felt like it was just like, I know they want to do something else. And this album to me just felt like
They're
the
like, we want to
driest
cuss.
record. Like we want to cuss. We want to cuss real
That's where
bad.
the story comes in, but
Yeah, I like out of all the records, this one was the one that I felt basically nothing for listening to it.
Got it.
so
Yeah.
for me, I actually think this is tied with to be their best, but
Oh wow.
I can understand where you're coming from.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so being their best and A tier. So that's what I'm saying. What I
Dang.
wanted to say earlier, this band
Well,
has
what do you
no
love
S
about
tier.
it? Why is it like tied for your favorite?
So, of course, I didn't write any notes down for this one. I think this is one, I don't know, some of the songs just like really hit me. Maybe it's because me being such a big Breakdown fan.
Yes.
Like Champions has like
That
one of
breakdown is
their
so
entire discography's
Yep.
best breakdowns with like the
Mhm.
I'm seeing red, and then just like the way that
Mhm.
breakdown hits is
Yep.
like one of my favorite moments from them. But this is, I guess, I don't know, it's one of those albums when I'm listening to it, all of a sudden the lyrics come back to me and like I can jam out to them. When I look at the song list right now, I'm like, I don't remember most of these songs.
Mhm.
But
Because they all sound the same.
the thing is with this band, so me being the goody two shoes Christian kid that never listened to music with swears in it, and always felt the most betrayed and heartbroken when bands were like, we're not Christian anymore, F this, and like that kind of stuff. Like I would like take it personal. This band was so weird to me because I went to Creation Northwest 2017. That was the last festival I've ever been to. That was my third time ever going. Gideon was on the bill to play, and this was summer of 2017, like July, I think. And this album had just come out, and I really enjoyed it. But I had seen footage of them on YouTube, like playing shows, and they were starting to do the whole like "get the F up," like, you know, doing that whole thing in their shows. And I'm like trying to wrap my head around the fact that they're playing Creation Fest, and I'm like, this is going to be weird, because it was at least 3 or 4 months of online footage of them cussing and swearing at shows, and like more than just a, you know, light thing like this. They're going hard into it.
Yep.
And they do it their whole set. It's not just like one moment or 2 moments like Devil Wears Prada. But so our tent, like me and my friend that went, we were I don't know, maybe like a couple 100 feet away from the back of the Fringe stage where all the rock bands play. Like, we were close, and so we could hear that whenever a band was practicing, doing sound check. And I'm sitting there and I'm getting geared up. I'm like, man, I'm gonna finally get to see Gideon. Like, been listening to them for years. And Daniel, their vocalist, comes walking by. I was right on this like little corner area, and he comes walking by, and I'm like, oh, it's him. I'm like, hey man, excited for your show. And he just had the most awkward, disgruntled, like, he's walking like down the trail, like looking down or whatever, and I say that, and he's like, oh, thanks man, and like just keeps walking. And then when they did their show, they right off the bat, they say something along the lines of, yeah, we flew all the way here from Japan. We're jet lagged. We need to see some movement. like they literally, I guess, were on tour in Japan, and they flew back to the States just for this one show, and then we're going back.
Oh my gosh!
And I don't know how much Creation Fest must have paid them to show up. And
it must have been a fortune.
Their set was exactly how I thought it was. It was the live sets that I'd seen on YouTube months prior. Literally without the swearing. They like censored everything. He would say the same things, like, get up, like at this moment, without the F-bomb. And it was like,
that's so funny.
It was really like cringy.
That just proves that they're trying hard if they can control it like that.
Yeah, it was a weird experience, because I
have
knew.
a similar story. I've seen Gideon twice, and it was within like a 3 or 4 month time span. The first time I saw them was at Face Down Fest in 2017, the 20th anniversary. It was the day that Cold came out.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And I was so stoked because I remember the first time I listened to it was the drive on the way to the fest, because I had like a 45-minute drive and the album's like 40-something minutes. So I got to listen to it on the way to see them headline. They were the headline for day 2 of that fest.
Wow.
And I remember I got there super early. It was just like me, a few other people in the band. So I go up to their table, Daniel's standing there, and I told him like, I thought I'd be like the first fan to tell him that I like the album, you know? So I told him that, and he seemed very dismissive. Like, he just didn't care that I like complimented him on the new album. And so I was like, oh, maybe he's just like really tired, or maybe his mind, like, bands have a lot going on at fests. Like maybe something happened. So I was like, okay, like that's fine. He wasn't like super rude, but he just didn't seem to care. Anyway, their set was amazing. I loved it. First time seeing them, they were one of my favorites. They even played Kingdom Minded, which is super ironic now. That was their encore track was Kingdom Minded, knowing that they were at that time no longer a Christian band and just faking it for the fest. They didn't preach a gospel message, but they said something on stage about their faith, which is the craziest part to me. Because I'm sure at Creation they probably didn't, right?
Not really that I can
So they actually did, which was insane. So then 3 months later, they are direct support for Wage War on the Blueprints tour, back when RIP Wage War was a good band.
When was that?
I was waiting. So anyway, I was so excited to see them. I'm like, I get to see Gideon again, you know? I just saw them. They were amazing. They get out and immediately get the F up to turn this in. And I'm like, I'm there with my buddy who's also like super into Gideon, and we're looking at each other like, what's
Did you not
happening?
know? Like,
no, we didn't know because
like, you didn't know like when you
Christian
saw them at
online
Facedown.
media wasn't like a thing.
Right.
Like Christian metal online media wasn't a thing that much.
Yeah,
like there weren't forums. I didn't know.
Yeah, KingdomCore wasn't there back then. So.
Oh my gosh! I had no way
become
to
my
know.
own source for this stuff.
Oh man, but yeah. So I was so shocked, and then for like a year, because that was summer 2018. When did they come out with, or summer 2017? When did they come out with No Love?
That was 2018.
So there was like a
2019.
solid year and a half in between that and me not knowing if they were a Christian band or not, because they wouldn't put anything out and wouldn't say anything.
February 2019.
Yeah,
was when
that's crazy.
No Love.
So it's really interesting looking back on that, seeing just like how much they literally faked that for money.
If anybody is interested in seeing them in this performance that I talked about, like at Creation Fest, I literally have most of that set. I filmed it and I have it on my YouTube channel. Like it's on.
That's hilarious.
That's so cool.
It's still there. Just search Gideon 2017 or Creation or something like that. I have a bunch of footage I took at that festival, but
That's wild.
it's funny.
All
that
right,
it still
boys.
exists.
So what are we putting this at?
So I gave it an A, but I'm okay with putting it lower. Like I don't really care that much.
What did I give it? I gave it a B.
You gave it a B, and then Michael gave it a D.
A D.
See,
I gave it a D. So
See, I feel like if we're doing like actual grades, like I would be fine giving it like a B minus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So are we putting it at a B?
Let's put it at a B, and we
I'm
can
cool
move
with a
it
B.
at the end if we need to.
Sorry, Mike.
That works. That works for me.
Okay.
I'm not offended yet.
He-
The other bands I will be, but this one I'm not. This one I'm
okay.
He doesn't
All
care
right.
about this.
He doesn't care.
Okay, so
All right.
I had no love, no hate on here, but apparently neither of you listened to it.
That's
Or
just a double
'cause-
single.
I know,
Yeah,
it's a
because
double
it's not
single,
a
but
record, but
I put
I'd
this
imagine
on here
yeah.
because it's an important milestone, no pun intended,
Yeah.
marker of just where this band took a shift. Like this
is when Gideon blocked me on Instagram.
Oh wow.
Have I told? I don't know if I've mentioned that on here. Gideon literally blocked me on Instagram when
Dude,
they
you're
became
calling me
non-Christian.
controversial. You're the one who's controversial. You know,
I didn't
you're
do
getting blocked.
anything. I would just post their Christian music and tag them, be like, "I love Gideon," and they saw me tagging them so much, they're like, "This is going to be a problem." When
Was this when you were
when we
aggressive
start
worshippers? Like when
this
came out?
was, yeah, this was back when it was aggressive worshippers. They were threatened by 4,000 followers, I guess.
They were threatened by Christ.
There you go.
Rough.
Like this was
Still
one
banned
of the
to this
first
day,
times,
I might add.
This was one of the first times that a like Christian band that had walked away like
Made a big deal
actively
about it.
swore in their music. Like it was a
That's
weird
yeah, I
turning
remember
point.
that. Yeah.
When I knew it was coming, like I knew because of how they acted live
Yeah.
and seeing all that footage, I was kind of anticipating it. Like I wasn't surprised when I saw the explicit, or like they even have on the art, it says the parental guidance, like explicit, like marking on the single art. I wasn't surprised when I saw it, but it didn't make it any less kind of like hurtful when I heard it. And like the content of the song, like lyrically, felt very much aimed at Christians, which was
it
kind
totally
of like
was.
they really went for it.
Yeah, and they did all these interviews. Here's why we're no longer Christians, because Baptists. That's why.
Oh man, it's always the
Biblical view of
Baptists,
hell?
you know?
No.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So just as a quick little thing, I know you guys didn't really think much of this thing. I gave it like musically, I'd say it's a B.
pretty good. Yeah, musically it is a B.
Lyrically,
honestly.
I gave it a D. So
Well, I have not heard it. I'd imagine it sounds exactly the same as every other record. So just put it at a B.
Put it at a C. Put it at a C.
I just put it at a C.
Okay, okay.
That's fine.
All right.
A little pop of red, you know.
All right. I want to start off Out of Control because I got some words.
Okay, one last thing, and this just ties into the everybody knows this, right? I hope that starting with Calloused, their album names. I mean, I guess No Love, No Hate, or No Love, No One. What did I put? No One. Anyways, their albums spell out calloused, cold, out of control, which is the lyrics of the song. So they went hardcore on that.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that. I know that's so smart. I love that. Oh, it's a little Easter egg.
How cute.
That's so cute.
Hey, you love your Easter eggs, don't you, Mr. Diatheke?
Dude, I love Easter eggs. There's really so many of them on that record.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, Out of Control. So I listened to this once when it came out back in, 2019. So over 5 years ago, this came out. I listened to it once, absolutely hated it. Never to be touched again because I'm like, why would I listen to this again? I was personally offended that they had blocked me. I was so bitter at this band I literally could not listen to Gideon for probably 2 to 3 years after this record. It was only probably a couple years after pandemic when I was like, okay, I can listen to this again, separate art from the artist.
When you got into all your heathenistic swearing music.
Yeah, I was into that long before. Okay. But
there is somebody listening now that has never heard the fact that you listen to secular music, but music that's raunchy lyrically. They're gonna unfollow KingdomCore.
They're gonna unfollow because we're doing this episode. What are you talking about?
Dude, people unfollow KingdomCore by literally posting the gospel on their page sometimes. You know what I mean? You'll post something that's you'll post something that's just biblical, and then someone in the comments will be like, "That's not biblical at all." Unfollow.
Is this a Christian page?
Yeah, exactly. Or all the people who were what was that band you posted with you can crucify me upside down or whatever that band is. Yeah, Convictions. Yeah, that band. Yeah, people just lost their minds over that.
People
I was
so mad at that.
Can you read context? It's fine, guys. Let's move on. But anyway,
that's so funny. Anyway. Listened to it today for the second time ever, first time in 5 years, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty decent musically. I enjoy, and here's the thing, I have this guilty pleasure of listening to a really ignorant hardcore when I'm not in the mood to do any thinking, and I just want something really heavy that sounds angry. It's a guilty pleasure of mine, and I know it's probably not good for me. But I enjoy it in very small doses every now and then when I might be having a bad day or something. And lyrically, this thing is atrocious. It sucks. It's inappropriate. It is not creative. I have heard plenty of hardcore that with foul language that is creative, constructive, thought-provoking. This is not that. I want to make that very clear. This is as cringe, youth group kid, Mom, I hate you type lyrics ever. That being said, musically, I'd give it a solid C.
Thank you, Lord. I thought you were going to say something.
I can sit down and enjoy it. I can sit down and bob my head to it and be this is not horrible.
What is your lyrical ranking?
Lyrically, it's an F.
Okay, I literally wrote this. C, musically, F, lyrically.
Yeah.
But
what was crazy to me was I could not believe that there was a record by Gideon, or I could not believe that I enjoyed this record more than Calloused. I could not believe it. That was so shocking to me today.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought that and I wrote these. This is literally what I wrote down on my notes. I said C/F, F being lyrically. I said sleep is just an instant fail. And the lyrics are hateful, cowardice, and these guys are posers. That's what I wrote.
They are posers. I think we can all agree.
This actually made me like just mad when I listened to it, and it's not that I'm taking it personally anymore. Like I don't care what these guys think that way, but I'm just like, just lyrically from any sort of context whatsoever, these were the most poser hardcore lyrics I have ever heard in my life. Like, it's so fake to me, but
it is very fake.
Maybe they're being genuine about it, but it just felt like they're trying to go over the top for the sake of going over the top and like trying to make it as much as possible.
Yeah, this record, I mean, I agree with the musical prognosis. Like, I think this record, okay. What I had heard from Gideon beforehand is that, like, I knew that they weren't Christian and they were a lot like, what I had heard or had the impression of is that their sound had like really changed in a cool way, like musically speaking. And I was like really excited to have like more musically dynamic records. And honestly, like, I was super disappointed.
Nobody said anything about dynamic.
Because I was like of the impression that there was going to be just like more than just the same tuning and the same breakdown. Because to me, I mean, I guess I alluded to this earlier, but I feel like every record that they've released has tried to just catch up to how Milestone has sounded. Even songs on their more Pain, More Power just sound like Milestone songs. Like, I just feel like musically they never really progressed that much. And so this record was disappointing to me because it's like, okay, you got like a little bit like, tough guy rap moments or not rap moments, but like more like hip hop, like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it never worked. I don't really get, I'm a big lyric guy. But for hardcore, I don't really pay attention to it. I just don't. Because
there's no point. Hardcore the lyrics don't matter in hardcore, right?
Yeah, lyrics are just about the emotion, right? So like if they're angry at something and if they want to, have colorful language or whatever, like I'm not on the side of the fence where a band can or can't do that. But I just haven't paid attention to the lyrics or whatever. But I just felt like this record was just fine. Like I was expecting it might have been my expectations. Totally. But I just felt like this record actually doesn't sound that much different besides like adding like a DJ scratch or having like a closed hi-hat breakdown, which was popular when this record came out. And it still is popular now because it's cool. But like I overall, I give this a C. Like, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's amazing.
The first one we all agree on.
Yeah. I just feel like it's fine.
Yeah. So
like, it's fine,
So yeah, I'm fine with that. C. Musically, I would personally put this in E because that's the between the C and the F. But C if we're going musically. I was
just reading through the lyrics of Sleep while you guys were talking,
it's
just like
so
laughing so hard. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
It's just so cringe.
Do you want to sing the lyrics and I'll just bleep out every moment?
Yeah.
It'll just be like a bleep for like 20 seconds straight.
Oh man, Mama ain't raised no.
It's
so
that's great.
funny.
Okay, let's end this.
Sounds like
off.
a teenager who just learned how to cuss.
Yeah, I mean, I never even went that far.
No, but like when you get like kids at school when they turn like 12 and they're not with their parents anymore and they're like, I can cuss, but they don't know like how to do it without sounding like they're trying to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For sure.
They don't know how to eloquently cuss or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. All right, more power, more pain.
Yeah, speaking of eloquently cussing, I think so. I'll just say this right off the bat, just to cap off this band for me. But I think More Power, More Pain is in the grand scheme of things. Again, I feel like this record really does not reinvent the wheel for this band like at all. I feel like it's just another beatdown kind of album.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it is a better Out of Control. So I like in this context, I would say I would put this at a B. I'm totally fine with it being a C, but a B I think is great. There's some cool songs on here. Oh, and let me just say this right off the bat. As a drummer, they've had the same drummer for all their records. I learned that on Wikipedia.
He also wrote a lot of their lyrics, too.
Oh, he wrote a lot of their lyrics, too?
Isn't it the old drummer from Those Who Fear?
I don't think so.
No, I don't.
So.
Unless he joined them after, because like I'm pretty sure their drummer had been in Gideon for like at least when I saw them live in 2017, and I know he continued on after, at least until Out of Control. It was the same guy.
Yeah,
sure.
it's. I think on the new record,
right.
it's the same guy too.
They have the bassist of Those Who Fear.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And their guitarist was in As Hell Retreats.
Yeah.
Another Christian band that apostatized.
Yeah.
But I think their drummer is like I think their drummer makes this band interesting to listen to. I do think that fantastic. I do think that he is a phenomenal drummer. Mm-hmm. And I think he showcases a lot of his drum stuff on Out of Control and More Power, More Pain. I just wish the rest of the band kind of kept up with him. I feel like, but yeah, More Power, More Pain is a B for me, and that's my take on Gideon.
I'd give it a B as well. Like I could actually enjoy most of the songs on this record. I found it somewhat musically interesting. It was a lot more dynamic. Like the track "If You Love Me, Let Me Go" literally sounds like a Counterparts song, like indistinguishable. Mm-hmm. And I love Counterparts. I think they're a fantastic band. So I thought that was cool. Again, lyrically, I think it's really stupid, really cringe. Probably E or F tier lyrics. But if we're just talking, like, here's the thing: a lot of what I see in the Christian music scene, especially about these guys, or like Underoath, like bands who release music that curses after they were once Christian, people immediately just hate the music. And I truly believe that if these records were exactly the same sounding, but with Christian lyrics, the Christian scene would eat it up. I think they would absolutely love it.
100% agree, yes.
And I think they're blind. And again, I was the same way when Out of Control came out. I was so personally hurt and offended that I let my perception of the band and the lyrics taint the music listening, you know?
Yeah.
That being said, musically, get rid of the lyrics. This is a B record.
Right. And this might surprise you, and this is the biggest difference split between doing music and lyrics for me. Okay, I actually gave the music an A, and
let's go.
I gave the lyrics an F again.
There you go. So I'm totally okay with a B on this.
Yeah, a B is totally beyond fine.
I'm so shocked that you enjoyed this musically, Chris. I really am. Yeah, I didn't think you'd be able to get past the lyrics. I really didn't.
No, if you asked me like 3 or 4 years ago, I couldn't do that.
That's fair.
But
That's
fair. I did hate listening to this record. Like,
oh, I'm sure.
When I was sitting there, I don't know, I was playing a video game or something, but I'm literally like analyzing everything because I wanted to be fair on this list.
That's fair.
I'm like, I hate this. Like, I'm just like actively like not wanting to listen to this. But the music was good. But like it just. Mm-hmm. I think Gideon, out of any Christian band that has done what they've done, like this is probably the band that I least like the most now. Like,
no, I agree.
Between from when they were a Christian band to versus now, like how much I can listen to them, like their newer records have somewhat tainted their old records for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Most bands I can get past it. Like,
yep.
A lot of the bands that we're about to talk about, I still listen to pretty regularly, but like I have actively listened to this band less over the years.
I would agree. I would agree.
But yeah,
and I think it's the fact that they made themselves enemies of the Christian scene, like on purpose.
Right. Like I think most of the other bands are just like they left and they don't really talk about it much.
Like I think
in some cases, yes.
Prada. We're getting into Prada, so this is a nice segue. I think Prada has done it to where they like people still don't even know if they're not Christian or not. I see in Christian metal groups all the time. I saw Prada last night, and I love them. They're always a Christian band, but they swore so much I couldn't believe it. And it's like they've been saying F Trump on stage since like 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't. Maybe this can be edited out. I don't know. But
No, go for it.
Does so what did Gideon come out and say? Because I get it. Baptists aren't my favorite either. But like what I'm gonna say is like
what I meant by Baptists is they're from the South. I think they're from what, like Alabama
or the North.
Like Bible Belt Christianity.
They're very much Bible Belt. They're from that, so they definitely. I know the type of Christians they're talking about.
Yeah,
I think we all do.
I think that there's something to be said about they coming out and saying their church hurt for sure, and I also think that I think a lot of it's justified in what they're feeling, and I feel like if they're the only way that they felt like they could get out their anger was to be mad at the Christian industry, like I get it. I wish them the best. They like I said, like they're talented. It's not really music I gravitate towards, but man, I hope they're doing okay. I love everything that their vocalist has guest vocaled on, like the Crystal Lake stuff.
Yeah, the Crystal Lake song. That was cool.
I love him on that song, but I didn't know if they had like a story that was public, because I'd love to read into it if they ever released it. But
here's what their guitarist Tyler Riley said. We're just very open-minded and loved making friends with people, and we didn't understand why, if they believed something else, they would go to a different place when they die. I think that's what kind of opened the door for me, making all these friends that believe totally different things to me and having to ask myself, what did they do to deserve hell? I think that's what started it in me, and seeing a lot of corruption in the church when I would go back home. And so that's
coming from a guy in a band called As Hell Retreats.
I know. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, that just seems like Christianity 101. And if you never got past that, were you ever a Christian? Like, did you ever know what you believed?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Which I think he was, one of the younger guys, and like as far as I know, like he's probably around our age, like maybe a bit older, but like I think As Hell Retreats, like when that band was like on strike first and whatnot before he joined Gideon, it's like I think they were kind of just like a bunch of youth group kids. Like they were,
and I think that's part of I think it points to a bigger issue in the scene, which I've talked about before, which we don't have to get into, but a lack of discipleship with bands that enter the scene, especially like straight out of youth group.
Dude, I would love to talk about that. Not here right now, but
we'll talk about it on the Diatheke episode.
Oh yeah, we'll get.
Because that's coming soon.
I'm so stoked, but right now, I have a lot to say about this discography, and
we've entered The Devil Wears Prada now. For those who can't see the tier list.
So who wants to kick this off? Because personally, I don't. So you guys go first.
No, I want Mike to kick this off. Okay. I know what you're going to say about this first record. Chris and I will say no. Chris and I are going to say it, and then we're just going to watch you melt as we talk about this record.
All right, let's do this. Let's do it.
All right, Chris.
I want you to start because I don't know where you're leading off with this.
Okay. Dear Love, A Beautiful Discord. This album is fun. It's hilarious. It's fun. Yeah. You started on the Gauntlet of Solitude, and a minute in, there's just this break in the music, and a guy just, I don't know what it's called when you swing down the piano from one end to the other, and then just like the most riff salad breakdown comes out that makes no sense, and it is so much fun. Dogs Can Grow Beards All Over. Fantastic song.
I love
amazing
the song
ending
names.
breakdown.
I will give it
lyrics
that.
Fantastic, and the sentence trails off. The record loses me from there. I'm like, this was fun for about 8.5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, this album, it's so like, what's the word? Incongruent? Does that even make sense?
That makes sense.
It just does not mesh well. It doesn't make sense. I get it. They were all like 17 when they wrote this,
or younger.
Probably.
I think Mike was like 14
or younger.
Or something.
Was he really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then that actually makes it better than I thought it was.
This was right before that clip, that legendary clip.
Yes.
Of them at Cornerstone.
I don't want to have to say this, but We Are the Devil Wears Prada. Yeah.
No,
I love that.
I don't want to say this, but
clip
I oughta. We are the Devil Wears Prada.
That lives rent free in my head. I think about that on a monthly basis. But anywho, this is like a solid D tier record. It's just not good music. I'm sorry. You can have fun listening to it, but you can't tell me. You can't look me in the eye. Actually, I had a buddy today. I told him about this episode, and he told me it's like his favorite Prada record. Sorry, Josh.
This was one that, like, when I was listening to this, I think I was easier on it than I was. I gave it a C, but sort of spoiler alert, that to me, that's their worst. Oh, sorry. This is my second worst album.
What?
No, this is definitely their worst album. I don't think
you think that there's something worse than this album. You think there is an album out of these 9 albums that you think is worse than this.
When I was looking at my list here, I was about to say that this was the worst album, but then I remembered there was one down there and I did write literally next to it. I said worst album. So this isn't the worst to me. But
this is easily their worst record, dude.
There's an album.
No, there's not. No, there's not. There is not another album.
There is an album that gets far too much praise that
Mike,
I think is terrible.
This is an F for you, right, Mike?
This is the most solid concrete F I think I'm gonna give out of like this entire episode. This album, like Sean says, it's like it is like it's fun for like 30 seconds,
okay,
and then you realize you got 40 more minutes to the ride, and you want to get off the ride.
I literally did that. I played it this morning, and I literally got off in track 4. I'm like, all right, moving on to the next album.
So from what the sound is, this is probably going to be our very first ever E.
You know what?
I'm going to change mine to F. I'm going to change mine to F because the fact that I couldn't even get through the record.
Okay, but if I'm at a C, it means it's still an E.
Oh, God.
I'll give it a D and 2 Fs, so I will be fair and I will give it an F for you boys.
Our first ever F.
It's good.
Our first ever F in this entire series.
Justice.
Just because I love you guys.
Oh, man.
All right.
Plagues.
Okay, this is my first Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
I have the deluxe reissue. So it is by far their best cover art and CD packaging.
That's not even true.
Oh, come on, guys! You got to give me this.
That's not even top 3 album art.
Look at it; it's just beautiful.
Yeah, if you're like, a skinny jean Hot Topic guy.
Which at the time I was like,
yeah, I mean we all were.
No. At the time I was like this super chubby shy kid with like really curly messy hair and like could barely run for a minute. But this, I mean, I probably was like secretly emo, even though I didn't really look like it. But I love this record. I think it still holds up in a lot of ways. It's of the time, but I love this record and I still give it an A.
An A?
Yeah.
Oh man.
There's one thing you said I agree with, Chris, and it's that it's a product of its time.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, there is one better cover art. I was just looking at the thing again.
Okay.
Actually, sorry,
there's one.
There's two
just
better.
One.
Just
okay.
one.
There's two. I don't know why I said that. There's better cover art, but I give this a high rank. I give it an A.
Okay.
I love this record.
As I was saying, this album is a product of its time, and unfortunately, I don't think it holds up. I've never gotten the hype. I understand the nostalgia blinders. I understand it was so many people's like first metalcore record, or when it came out, there was nothing like it. I get that. I get how groundbreaking it was. I didn't get into the Devil Wears Prada until like 2016. You have to keep that in mind.
That explains a lot.
It does. I was so late to like metalcore. Metalcore wasn't for me until like 2014, 2015. I'm sorry. And so going back to this record that was like 9 years old, I was like, there are some fun parts. Like Reptar King of the Ozone is a phenomenal track. Love it. Hey John, what's your name again? Great. So much fun. But this is like just a C. Like, it's fine. It's got great tracks on it.
You didn't name the best 2 songs.
I named my favorite songs.
You can't spell
it's just
without
C. It's a C tier for me. It just is. It's like, it's got some great songs. If I'm in the mood for it, I can really enjoy it and have a solid 38 minutes of B tier enjoyment every once in a while. But if I'm just gonna throw this on out of nowhere, it's like, I'm over this. Sorry.
Well, I'm just going to pop in for a little bit and just, say that this definitely is of its time. There isn't quite a record that sounds as Hot Topic as this, maybe besides their next record.
Because the artwork.
This record is a D. I'm sorry. This record, it's like Dear Love, but way more matured. But also at the same time, like, if Prada just stayed at this level their entire discography, maybe it would be higher than a D for me, because they didn't because here's the thing. Basically, from this point, we have a streak of flawlessness out of this band. And because we've gotten so much good stuff from this band, it makes Plagues not appealing to me, like, at all. Even back then.
Agreed.
Because I heard this band right when Zombie EP was about to come out. That's when I hopped in. So I listened to With Roots Above all the time. And I would go back to Plagues and Dear Love and try to get into those records. And I just couldn't. Even back then, I was like, this isn't my thing. But I love With Roots Above. So, like, to me, like, Plagues and Dear Love just keep getting worse. It just as I age, I just think this one's a D. It's not my thing. That's why an A, fair. Like that's
okay.
But I get
Is there a song you really enjoy on this record? I want to know.
Me?
Number 3, Never Forget. Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking me.
Oh, me?
No, I'm asking Mike. Yeah.
I like the singles. I like the like whatever that song is that starts off with the piano. That's like whatever that one is. I think that one's cool.
I'm trying to listen. I don't even know. I think. This song is called.
Yeah, that one. I think that track is cool. But overall, it's fine. Like it's a little less than fine. To me.
Yeah. Wait, Sean, what did you give it?
I gave it a C.
I guess it's got to be a C, right? Yeah, it's got to be a C.
Gosh, people are so mad right now. People die for this record, guys. All right. Okay, we can all agree on
dude, and Nichols is money too. Let's go.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, we can all agree on With Roots Above, right? Can we just put this on S?
Yep, this is an S tier record for me.
Top 5 metalcore record ever in existence. Do we all agree? Top 10?
Ooh,
top 10?
Maybe.
What do you got to say?
I'm not sure if I could give it a top 5 ever.
Oh, okay. I couldn't give it a top 5. Probably.
Could you give it a top 10 metalcore? No. I give it top.
Maybe 10. For like
Christian influence, definitely top 10
Christian influence and like Christian. Yeah. Okay. Like I just
love 10 this record. It's so flawless.
As far as like top 10 favorite, like okay. I couldn't do that, but. S tier, I agree. This is super easy.
Zombie, this is where it gets fun.
I think up until listening through this discography, like I almost always would go back to Plagues. Like even though I recognize it's less than With Roots, but like because I went and saw them for their anniversary tour of With Roots Above and Branches Below.
That was a fun tour.
Same. Yeah, I saw that too.
But around that time, like I would always just gravitate if I'm like, I'm going to throw on some Devil Wears Prada. out of those two albums, like I almost always went Plagues. But like when I was listening to this and I was trying to be super objective, I'm like, okay, yeah, like I can see why this album is so revered. Like I can see. And so that was why I had a Plagues at A. I mean, I can some of that is nostalgia glasses. I think that record is better than you guys give it credit for, but I'm okay with where we put it.
I think that there's me too. But I think there's truth to what you're saying. I think that I'm also get distracted with. I mean, Plagues. I don't really pay a lot of attention to because of how good how monumentally good some other records that they've done. That I just don't gravitate towards it because it's like
I agree.
I have the good thing over here, so why am I listening to that record that I've never gravitated towards?
Right.
But yeah, I think there's truth in what you're saying. Totally. I actually love how this tier looks right now because I do think it actually is super representative of how those first three records are.
Honestly,
that's amazing. Actually, I don't think we've ever seen
hilarious
a split like that for the first three records of the band.
We got Zombie. I'll take this one real quick. I think Zombie is fine. I know some people like think this is the greatest EP ever released. I've never been there. That's not to say I don't like it. I think it's good. I can enjoy it. I throw it on and I'm like, these are 5 really good metalcore tracks. That being said, it's just a B to me. It's a good EP.
You're gonna tick some people off with that one.
I did. It's fine. I don't care.
Again, if you guys really disagree
Gideon,
and hate
Chris,
our
nobody
opinions,
else is listening anymore.
start your own podcast.
Chris said it, not me.
Okay, Michael, what do you think about this one?
So here's the thing. Like, I think Zombie EP is monumental, and it's like a total piece. It's a total piece of its time. It's super influential. I mean, at the time, like this is when I like got into Prada, like right before this came out. So I remember Outnumbered dropping on MySpace. Like I remember the hype. But here's the thing. It's an EP. Like I understand that it's monumental, but it's not a studio full-length record. It's an EP. And so I don't view EPs basically the same way. But to be fair, like, and this might be a spoiler alert, like they have 3 EPs. And to me, I think the other 2 EPs are better than this one. I just think that they've just evolved. That being said, I still think Zombie EP is incredible, and I would put it at an A.
Okay. And I am kind of in that same boat, more or less. And I was going to give it an A. I think it's.
Right. We could give it an A.
It's overrated. Like as everybody talks about it as an S tier. Like this is the most incredible thing ever. Like
yeah,
it's a little overrated. I'm okay with a B too, but A and B is kind of where
I'm okay with an A because I understand how monumental it is.
Right. This was probably one of, like, if we give it its credit as an EP, it probably had like. That's probably one of the most prominent, like, big impact EPs I can remember from a band.
Oh, definitely.
Like, this was like a cultural landmark for the scene.
It really was.
Okay, I want to start off with Dead Throne.
Do it.
This is probably my favorite artwork from them. That's my correction.
It's so good. Yeah.
It is fantastic.
This album came out at a pivotal moment in my life, and this was also like the first new album from when I was a fan of them. Like, because I got into metal in 2010, so this was like I'm a fan of them now, like with Zombie, but like when Dead Throne came out, it just it was incredible. It was a weird. Zombie started it, but this was a weird like vocal style change for Mike. Like it just sounds so different from with Roots Above. Like I think there's like a weird drastic change in their sound, but I think this album has stood the test of time. I think that this is an S tier as well.
I'm gonna pop in right now and say this album is also an S tier.
S tier.
This album is Zombie EP, but a full length. It's everything I wanted out of that record. The lyrically, conceptually, I mean, my gosh, this record blew my mind when it came out. Easily,
you can make the argument.
I think this is the greatest.
You make the
Nope.
argument that
I will not. Nope, I can't do that. Nope, can't do that.
Oh man.
Nope.
This is my
hang on.
personal, like, this is my favorite Devil Wears
By
Prada.
the way, I don't know if I said it. Roots is my favorite Prada album, but anywho, you can make the argument that Roots to Dead Throne is the greatest back-to-back album streak in the history of the genre.
Absolutely.
Like,
Dead Throne blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because what's so funny
good.
is I remember when it like the day before it came out, there was some website that was streaming the whole album all the way through as like an official publication. So like I got so if you just went to that one website, they had the whole record up for streaming before it was out. And I remember listening to it that day, just track by track, just losing my mind over how great it was. And of course I'm of the opinion that like metal music in general should be just like a little off. Like to me, when I listen to like a new Wage War or basically any Wage War or Memphis Mayfire or whatever, like it's not for me because it's too clean. It's too put together. It's too like produced. And it doesn't grab my ear because that's not interesting. I like things to be just a little off. And the vocal style on this record just did something for me that I could not get enough of. His vocals on Born to Lose, I mean the whole record, but specifically Born to Lose in the first verse where he's just having that ugly note come out of his throat. I was like, Mike, you've got to be kidding me. You are like the greatest vocalist. I cannot speak higher of this record. I love it.
It's great.
Awesome.
Well, and I got a whole lot more of it on the next record.
Alrighty.
All right. 818.
818 is fun. I like this record a
Yeah.
lot. I don't feel like it gets the recognition it deserves.
I think when it came out, it was disappointing.
It's so
like, 'cause
unique.
it's creepy and sounds weird, and like, but over time, I think this is actually, I think looking at their whole discography, this is what I would call their most underrated album.
Dude, the opening to Rumors is just so sweet. That dun, 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 dun. I'm really bad at doing that, like repeating vocal riffs or whatnot.
Yeah, the weird timing on it.
It's just so cool. And that song is when I listened to this record for the first time ever. That I was really like, I liked Gloom a lot, and I'm like, this is good. And it was at the beginning of Rumors when it really was just, I was just pulled in, and I really like this record a lot. I don't listen to it a ton because I don't want to ever lose my my fascination with this album. I know that sounds weird. There are a lot of records where I adore them, and I don't let myself listen to them that often because I never want to lose the wonder of like how amazing it is. Like, I cannot really tell you that much about this album because I let myself forget what it sounds like. So when I return, it's so good. That being said, this is an A record for me.
I was going to say that A record for me as well. This was kind of what I would call their last Christian record, more or less. Like, even though maybe lyrically, content-wise, like there wasn't that much going on around this time period anyways, or like ever. I mean, there's a little bit here and there, but 818 being like a direct Romans,
right?
Like they named the record that. Also, 818, the song is like
real quick. I listened to this.
Songs.
I listen to this album once a year on August 18th. That's when I listen to it.
Oh, I love that.
I always listen to it around 8:18, like in the morning or PM.
Oh, that's fun.
But,
I celebrate 818 Day.
Oh, that's cool. But yeah, that song is probably like either their best or like my favorite like slow song from the band.
Which song? Sorry,
the title track, 818.
Oh, right. Good album.
Yeah, it's such a cool song. But yeah, overall, I think most underrated record,
definitely,
and solid A is my opinion on that too.
You know what? I'm fine with compromising at an A because I think this record is an S tier record.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
818. Like
why? Let's hear.
You're gonna start to see like a trend with this band for me. Is that With Roots Above is an S tier record. and Dead Throne is an S tier record, but I think Dead Throne is better than With Roots Above. I think 818 is also an S tier record, but I think 818 is better than Dead Throne.
No, you don't.
Yes,
way.
yes. Like,
No.
it's not
Sacrilege.
even a question. No, it's
You
not
think
even
this
a
is their
question.
Let's hear why.
No, I don't think it's their
this
best.
isn't his
They
best.
have another S tier.
They have just keep going, but
I didn't know you like this band so much.
Man, Prada is my heart and soul, which is why my heart breaks for them at the same time. But
wait, let's hear why you like this one better than Dead Throne.
This record is because what I feel like is that Dead Throne is a very in-your-face metalcore record. It's just very aggressive. It's angry. There's like these really cool, like that one instrumental song. Is it Kansas?
Yes, Kansas is
like
so good.
Like Prada taps into this mode of like having these instrumental breaks that are so beautiful and so well crafted. And in the metal world, in my mind, is that like Prada really steps into like this post-rock type sound on Dead Throne, and I think they tap into it even more on 818. I think they tap into a very moody, dynamic, gloomy sound that is so different from Dead Throne. It's a way more dynamic, like viscerally, like emotive record. I also think lyrically it's one of their best. I think that, Transgress, the track 10, is my favorite Prada song like ever. It's so beautifully written. It's so emotive. I am also, maybe it's just a little bit of bias, but Matt Goldman produced this record, and I've worked with him before, and he talks about this record and the making of it, and it's just there's something about this record. I fell in love with this record so fast, and it is the Prada record that I go back to. That's like, I feel like the fans don't appreciate this record nearly as much as they should. But every time 100%. I listen, every time I put on this record, it's genuinely like catching up with an old friend. It is such an important record for me. If you just start at track 10 to the last track, those last 4 songs are just peak Prada. I can't get enough of this record. To me, it's S tier, but I am totally fine with putting it at an A.
Cool. Man, yeah, that's so cool.
What a band, guys. What a band.
Man.
All right, Space. Chris, why don't you tell us about Space EP?
Space was interesting. So, like, I actually really I don't talk about it much or study it nearly as much as I used to, like, as a kid, but, like, I love space, like, as like a subject, and like, obviously a huge Star Wars nerd. That probably was what really kicked it off for me. But
Disney Star Wars nerd or actual Star Wars nerd? Okay,
you got 99 Star Wars nerd. Phantom Menace. Let's go. No, I actually did. I discovered the original trilogy on VHS tape, and then literally months later, we went to the video store, which don't exist anymore. And there was a ginormous wall of the Phantom Menace on VHS. Like,
I remember that.
30 copies.
I remember that. Yes.
We're like, there's a new one. We didn't even know it was in the theater. I was 5 years old, and ever since. Anyways,
dude, no, but side tangent, dude. This is
Acolyte sucked.
Okay, the Acolyte does suck. I didn't even, but I will go out on a limb, and I don't care if I get canceled for this. But I will say this: I think the Phantom Menace is by far the best prequel, and I know that I will get crucified for that. But I think Episode 1 is by far the best.
I love
close between 1 and 3.
Oh, it's definitely between 1 and 3.
Very close between 1 and 3. Attack of the Clones is horrible.
Attack of the Clones is unbearable.
It's not horrible.
It's unbearable. I can't watch it.
It's so bad. I love it. I love it to death.
It's just the dialogue. Yeah.
Love it to death, but it is a horrible movie.
I would much rather watch Episode 2 than the sequel trilogy any day of the week.
Oh, 100%.
But 100%. Man, like, I just wish that
this is amazing.
I just wish George Lucas could actually write romantic dialogue, because he sounds like half of his dialogue is like, no human would say this to someone they love. It's just so awkward, but Anyway, Space EP.
Yeah. Sorry. So Space EP, when this hit, I loved it. Like, it was so good when it hit. And the song that really did it for me, and it was one of the last songs that I heard via YouTube as like a live recording, like somebody filmed it at a show, was when they started playing Supernova. That song for me, like it was one of the few songs that I would watch the YouTube video of this crappy live recording and just over and over and over again, because it sounded so good and it was so catchy. And I'm like, this is different from the band, but like I fell in love with that song. EP came out, really dug it. As time has gone on, by no means do I hate it. I think it overall hasn't stuck with me as much as I thought it would. I still love Supernova, but as a whole, I give it a solid B. Like, it's, middle of the good stuff from the band to me, but it doesn't live up to those top 4 that we have sitting up there. That's my thoughts.
I respect that. I totally see that. I think this is an A, just because I think Space EP is better than Zombie EP.
Right. And I think that when we were talking about Zombie, that was the only thing I differed in opinion from you. I thought Zombie 1, I thought, is probably still better than Space to me, but
it's just, at that point, it's just like little preferences. Yeah. I love Space just because I like you said, like, I am a sci-fi space. I have vinyl records. I have a box set where it's the soundtrack. It's like a box set where it's just the soundtrack of music they would play on the Voyager expedition.
Oh, really?
Where, if they picked up on any like alien life forms or whatever, they would hear like the sounds of Earth and everything. Like, I am a sci-fi space guy. Like, I love it. And so just hearing like Alien and Moon God and Asteroid, like I was just losing my mind the entire time. I absolutely, it's a way more dynamic record, and I would put it an A, but a B is totally suitable for that in the grand scheme of things. I just don't like it being so close to Plagues, but I'm fine with it being at a B.
You're like, I can't bear it just touching the lights. All right, Sean, what do you think of this one?
I think it's a great EP. I am also of the opinion that Zombie is my least favorite of the 3, and I gave it a B and was fine at A. I give Space EP a full A. Okay. I'm totally cool with A.
I'm cool with A. Like, I'm not.
It's not that I'm cool with A. I think it's an A. I think it's a fantastic EP. There's really nothing like it within the genre.
Right.
It's just another just moment in time for the band. I think.
Cool. Yeah. Transit Blues.
I know what's about to happen. I know what's about to happen.
Guys.
He's like, S tier.
Transit Blues is the Devil Wears Prada's best album, and it's not even close. This is an S tier masterpiece. This is in my top 10 favorite metalcore records of all time.
I knew that you love this record that much, but I wish it was a dream that I didn't like. It wasn't true. I thought I was dreaming that.
This record.
I've been preparing for this emotionally for months since we scheduled this episode, and I still wasn't ready to hear that.
At least 3 months at this point.
Yeah, probably.
This record is everything to me. This is a perfect record. And that's all I have to say. I'm leaving it all out there.
That is one of the takes
for me. No, I'm just kidding.
That is one of the takes of all time, I might say. One of the takes of all time.
This is a take.
So I don't want to be.
It's the truth. No, I'm just joking. No, okay. What do you guys think?
I don't want to be like the edgy Prada's not heavy anymore, kid. This is their worst record. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I realize it's within the metal genre, especially metalcore, it's really easy that when a band like changes their sound completely or goes softer, it's really easy to just not like it and say it's their worst record. That being said, it's not their worst record because Dear Love exists.
Mhm.
Dear Love exists. Plagues also exists.
Oh, come on, Sean.
I would put this on the same level as Plagues in terms of how much I enjoy it.
Oh, that just cut Michael to his bone.
In terms of how much I enjoy it.
We broke Michael.
I don't think there's anything wrong with this record. I simply think this record is not for me. I have tried through so much.
Fine.
I have tried for so long to be like, why does Mike love this freaking record so much? I've tried. I tried today for you, Mike. I did.
Wait, did you say you gave it a C?
I gave it a C tier.
Okay.
I think it's fine. Like, Praise Poison is pretty cool. Daughter's all right. Worldwide is a fun song. But again, lyrically, this album does absolutely nothing for me.
I want to get lost in you.
Yeah, just like, it's fun live. I've seen them play it live several times, and it's great. And I'll sing along to every word. But the song has no substance on its own, and that's how I feel most of this record is for me. I just don't get it. It's not for me. I'm sorry.
Okay, I will come in and I will.
But again, real quick. As I prefaced, I am not just saying it is bad and
not for you.
They changed their sound, and I'm gonna say it's an F because I don't like it. I will not be that guy.
Yeah, because we are all pretty reasonable human beings, except for Mike's outrageous metalcore takes every once in a while. This album, when it first came out, I did not enjoy it very much. Very much sentiments of Sean just wasn't for me. It wasn't. They very much had changed overall in their sound. I was still like, Dead Throne is amazing, and like this is it. Over time, and like certain songs, like Tokyo, like is that what the song's actually called?
Oh, Worldwide.
So like there's certain songs that the Key of Evergreen, I think, was one of the other ones I really like. But over time, this album has gotten better for me. Like every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh, like this is more enjoyable to me. I actually think this might be a really hot take, but when I was doing this discography listen through, and it's been about 2 months since I did this because you guys slacked off. Actually, Mike's already was ready, but Sean slacked off. When I was listening to all these within about 3 or 4 days, I went through this whole discography. I actually made a mark that Transit Blues has amazing production. And I think when I wrote that, I was meaning like this is their best production. The overall the overall sound of everything coming through my headphones was like really good.
Crazy, because that's one of the main reasons I can't get into it.
Really?
Because of the production.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like as a metalcore band, like in most cases, like just stylistically looking at this album, it doesn't make sense to me that I would think that it's the best production wise. However, overall, I think it was an A album. Like it's solid.
Oh dang!
It's not anywhere close to Dead Throne to me, but it's like it's really solid, and over time it has grown on me. When it first came out, I probably would have gave it a C, but it's grown on me a lot, and I think the production had a really big part in that. I just really enjoyed it this last listen, so I give it an A. Sean gave it a C. Mike gave it an S. So does that make it an A? Is that what we're going with?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I guess so.
So, okay.
Wait, if I give it a D,
Sean.
does that make it a B?
So, like, here's the thing. Like, Transit Blues. Okay, to be fair, like give a little bit of context. This record, I feel, like, because Devil Wears Prada has always been like a metalcore band, and that's no exception with Transit Blues. They're a metalcore band, but they tap into what they've been tapping into the past couple records, where they're like the post metal, post hardcore, post rock sound. And post rock is some of my favorite music to listen to. And when you listen to Flyover States or Submersion or Home for Grave Part 2, they tap into that unbelievably emotive, big space. Like, let's be as aggressively big as we possibly can as an instrumental section or things like that. To the Key of Evergreen, really goes into the blast beats, which is super black metal to me. And it just, the Transit Blues to me is like their most gorgeous sounding record because of how big and how spacious and how energetic it is. But also Daughter is nasty and Praise Poison is so aggressive. And then, but like lyrically, I love this record. I love this record lyrically so much because Mike Haranica, he said in an interview at one point that in metal music, and especially in metalcore music, like lyric writers tend to go towards like the whole like, I'm gonna like take on the world and I'm gonna like fight this massive thing, and like it's like these larger than life things. And Mike Haranica has never really been like that to an extent. Like with Dead Throne, it's conceptual, and 818 it's very biblical, and things are like themed and sectioned out. And he was like, with this record, he was like, I just want to write about the most simple topics of all time. And I also want to write about the books I'm reading. So like when you listen to Worldwide, he's like, man, like I just feel like people don't pay attention to these flyover states. So I'm going to write this song about touring. I'm going to write, like, I think the first track, Praise Poison, is a song about the book, The Sound and the Fury, which is just a book he was reading. Transit Blues, I actually think is a song about him walking away from faith, because there's a line in there that says, you can't feel the transit blues without losing something you thought was true. It's just like, that's to me,
interesting.
It's
when they released The Act, he said he was still a Christian when they released that.
Yeah, it's strange because like after The Act, I feel like he completely said, I'm not. Yeah. But I feel like there was this, like, Transit Blues is such a simple album to me, but in the biggest way musically. And there's this dynamic there that I can't get enough of. That record means so much to me. Production, the same thing with what Chris said. I mean, production wise, it's so aggressive, but so beautiful. And it's just everything that I wanted Prada to be. Was that
see record. I want what you have.
I want you to have what I have too, because I'm telling you, man, this record changed my life. Yeah, I can't get enough of this record.
This is like the third or fourth time I think I've heard you like write your love letter to this album, and every time I'm like, I don't feel that, and I want to.
Well, I will pray that you do someday.
Because Mike talks about this record like I talk about Falling Up.
Exactly.
That's true.
But Mike, you haven't heard me talk about Falling Up. Yeah. My God. Yeah.
We'll have to do that.
Mike talks about that record like I talk about Cities by Amber Lynn.
Next tier list together, Falling Up, and then just the whole episode.
Bro, that's the easiest tier list I will ever make in my life.
I was gonna do S for all of them.
Yeah. Well, maybe, but mostly.
Here's the divisive record in their discography.
Yep.
The Act. I don't think there's a more divisive record in like modern metalcore, honestly, from like a really big iconic band. This came out at a time when I would convince myself to like records that nobody else liked. I liked to be controversial at the time. I thought it was cool. I had never had that before, and I feel like every kid in the scene goes through that little phase where they want to be controversial. And
you
like
still are controversial most of the time,
but I'm not doing it on purpose.
No, but you have such a large fan base that they all just suck up and listen to you.
Yeah, you abuse your power all the time.
Oh man, all the time. That being said, when this came out, I convinced myself it was a top 3 Prada record.
Wow.
There's a lot of mental gymnastics I had to do to get there. There's been, what is this, 2019? 2018?
2019.
2019?
Yeah.
The dust has settled. It's been 5 years since this came out.
That's crazy.
I think I can give it a B. I can admit it's a B record. I think it's cool. I don't think it's their best. I think they do a lot of things better. I see what they were going for, and I enjoy a lot of it, and I can listen through the album and have a great time.
Okay.
But I must say, Lines of Your Hands is one of the best Prada songs in their entire catalog.
Yeah, and it sounds exactly like Transit Blues, just so I'm going to point that out. But do you want to go next, Chris?
No, I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Okay, so here's the thing. When it came out, of course, to also give context, like I've given like the past like 5 records like all S tier. You know, like Prada, like at the time, is the most consistent band I've ever heard in my life. Like I was like, not only are they releasing good music, but like some of the best music I've ever heard. You know, so I like. Prada was one of those bands that, like, no matter what they do, I pre-order it. If they come through town, I am going to go see them. I've seen them like 4 or 5 times. I saw them tour Dead Throne, 818, Transit Blues, like the whole 9 yards. When the act came out, I was so angry. I was so angry. For a multitude of different reasons. I think that the production between songs varies, and I just feel like that's really lazy mixing, which was the first thing, because I feel like Transit Blues sounds as good as it did. As good as it did. The thing that, you know, Sean, you said something over like, I get what they're going for or whatever. You know what? I still don't know what they were going for on this record. and to me, because here's the thing, like you start off the record with Switchblade, which is awesome. It sounds different than the rest of the record.
Yeah,
it's sick.
It sounds different than the rest of the record, but whatever. It's a great song. Lines of Your Hands is, again, one of the greatest Prada songs ever. Fell in Love. And then I'm like, what in the world is Chemical doing on this album? Because to me, like,
it was just a taste of the future, Mike.
Oh man, and we're gonna get into that because like Chemical was because what was so jarring to me, especially even in the singles, because you have Lines of Your Hands was the first single, and then you had Chemical. And I was like, what am I supposed to do?
Remember what
this?
The third single was?
Please say no.
And I was so confused. I was like, what is this record going to be?
Exactly. So my thing was...
They were trying to tell you guys something. Please say no.
Because like,
please don't buy this record.
my thing was like, okay, I already pre-ordered it. It was too late. But like my thing with this record is it's simultaneously their absolute most experimental out there record, which I respect in a lot of different ways. And then it's also the record that got them on the radio. And it's like,
that was a weird thing.
And in that way, it's their most commercially viable since Dead Throne, because Dead Throne's their highest selling record. And they haven't had anything on the radio since Dead Throne until the act. And what I took away from the act is that, like, they really brought an influence of like, okay, well, we're like a metal band and we're going to do like things we want to do and we're going to self-produce a record, because this record was self-produced by their keyboard player.
It? I didn't know that.
Yeah, this was all done in-house by the band. They didn't go to a producer for it.
Oh, shoot. Which was there like a band member that primarily did all the mixing and mastering?
Yeah, I don't know who mastered, but I know that the keyboard player like basically produced this record.
Yeah. Is that Kyle?
No,
it's
not
the
Kyle.
Other guy. I think Jonathan, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Jonathan, okay.
But Kyle, I think when we go into Color Decay, it was Kyle and Jonathan. They're actually like the main songwriters now.
Yeah,
together, like as a duo, they kind of.
So Jeremy doesn't do any writing?
Well, they might do lyrically and like some stuff, but I think a lot of the instrumentals, it's those two newer members.
Interesting.
That, like,
I actually didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, Jonathan actually takes a big hand in a lot of the lyrics, especially on Color Decay, which is a problem. So we'll get to that in a second. But my thing with the act is that I absolutely just despised it when it came out. The more that I've aged and the more that I revisit it, the more respect and kind of like love I have for it, because it's a 12 track record. I think there's like 7 amazing songs on it, and then the other, I don't know math, the other 5 songs are either like mid to like I don't want to hear this again.
Is Chemical at the bottom of that list?
Yeah, Chemical is like the worst Prada song like ever.
Worse than anything else.
That was the one that was on the radio.
Yeah, exactly. Like I the more I age,
radio's
the more
trash, guys.
the more I age, the more I respect the act, and the more that I begin to like it more. But I also don't believe that. I feel like it's a mixed bag. I feel like Chemical totally just could have been a single, and it could have propelled them into whatever and kept it separate, like what they did with Ritual or whatever. But overall, I give the act a B. I still think that with everything that I said about the record, it's still better than 90% of all metalcore. So, like,
that is fair.
I give the act a B. I'm also fine with giving it a C. I don't think it's that. I just, I wrestle with this record. I respect how experimental it is, but overall, I feel like it's a mixed bag of a record, and they're confusing if Mike is the main vocalist or if Jeremy is the main vocalist. And that's something that really bothers me with this band.
I'm really concerned because earlier Chris said that Dear Love is his second least favorite Prada record.
Yeah,
I'm really concerned.
I'll make this quick. I'll make it really quick because Michael hit on a lot of points. So, this is their best artwork, tied for their best artwork. I'd still think Dead Throne's the best, but so second best artwork. I love Switchblade, Lines of Your Hands, The Thread, and Numb. Those are kind of like my favorite tracks on here. They're also like the heaviest ones for the most part, I think. Overall, I have to say that this is probably their worst album, but I think you guys might have convinced me I might snag it above Dear Love. But I initially because Dear Love I had given a C initially, but I was okay with a D. I gave the act through this discography listen through a D. So I'm okay with putting it at a C, but
I'm okay
I
with
think
it
it's
being a C as well.
Okay, it can be a C. That's fine.
Is that what you were going to rate it at?
That's fine. I rated it a B. Michael and I both rated it a B.
Right, okay.
But I'm fine with it being a C.
Okay.
It could be C. We'll grade on a curve.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Zombie 2.
Okay, I'm just going to come out and say it.
Best EP.
Yes, S tier. S tier.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
So, probably one of the best metalcore EPs of this decade.
This EP made me like the act more because I was like, how are they going to follow up the act? I'm like, oh, Prada's still Prada. Like the act was just that thing that they wanted to try, and I'm fine with that.
Right.
Zombie 2 is oh man, Chris is dying. Incredible. I can totally see Chris is dying.
Forlorn is one of the best Prada tracks.
I completely agree.
So good. I remember when Termination came out as the first single, and I just lost my mind.
Termination,
breakdown.
Yes, 100%.
Oh my gosh, the way they executed that. Only Prada can get away with that.
All right, Chris, break our hearts. Let's do it. Do it.
Honestly, like from what I have here, I gave it a A/B. Like I'm okay. Like it's not terrible by any means. I think it's probably my least favorite of the 3 EPs, but like they're all like really close. I'm not have the big gap between them all.
Got it.
Like I would say all 3 EPs I would basically say are A tier, but I would probably go like, I think as far as this current listen through, I would go like Zombie space Z2.
Okay.
But they're all really close. Maybe they've interchanged at certain times. I think why this one is lower for me is because in the last 5 years, like kind of since the act came out, this is kind of where the band's faith kind of played a journey, and all the big changes and everything. Like, to me, the band was less enjoyable. And so maybe that's made the impact where when this EP came out, as much as I was stoked, I'm like, they're finally doing another zombie EP. Like, I was among that group where I'm like, they need to do another one like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it essentially lived up to the hype as far as musically and lyrically. It's a zombie EP, so I wasn't expecting much lyrically. But like, I think I was just slightly off of the band. Like my hype of my love for the Devil Wears Prada had kind of started to kind of like, I'd gone past the peak and I was starting to come down. And so this EP didn't hit like I wanted it to or thought I would.
Gotcha.
It is the only, other than Dear Love, this is the only Devil Wears Prada record I don't own physically. Or at all. Like, I even have their live DVD. The Dead Alive.
Wow. Yeah.
But like Z2 is like the only physical thing I don't have other than Dear Love. It just never really captured me. I almost forget that it exists half the time. But it's solid. I would give it an A or a B, but like A is fine.
If you're gonna give it an A and we gave it 2 S's,
let's make it an A. Let's make it.
Oh wow!
Oh really?
Okay.
Oh,
I was gonna say we outweigh him, and that brings it up.
I was just trying to be. You know what? No, it's an S. Let's just put it
an
up
S,
there.
Mike. It's an S.
I just okay.
It's
I
so
will do
good
it for you guys because you've been so
It's
compromising
so
with me. I have a hard time seeing it up there with Roots and Dead Throne. That's
I have a very hard time seeing it above Transit Blues. So very hard time.
I would switch those two.
Really? Let's do it. Let's do it right now.
No.
I know Sean was too low on Transit. I don't think we can do
Dude,
that.
No,
that
it's all
Z2
good.
is so
I would
good.
swap those two. I would put 818 up there
adore
before
Z2.
those two, though.
I just put everything on the A tier and S tier, but that's just me. Everything.
Okay, let's end this off. We've been on this band for a long time, which is fair. But let's end it off. Color Decay. I will say, I really loved this album when it came out. Like, I was actually really into it.
Same.
I bought it right away, like CD, and I had it in my car for probably like 2 weeks. Like, this is what I listened to when I drive. I really enjoyed it. When I went back to listen to it again, it doesn't hold up as well in my mind as much as I still enjoy it, but it definitely it's I don't think this is going to be one of those albums that holds up down the road. Like, production wise, it's okay. Musically, like, everything's okay. I think lyrically is kind of where it's starting to like I gave it a C / a B, but I think I'm leaning more towards C than.
Okay. So I will say that if you asked me when this record came out, I was shouting from the mountaintops that this was a top 3 Prada record. I adored this.
Every time they release something, Sean's like, top 3.
Yeah, honestly. I love recency bias. I am.
You are the embodiment of recency bias.
I am the embodiment of recency bias.
So release your album, but you hate when bands release their albums in December. You won't even consider them for your list.
I do. The list is already made. Sorry. Anywho, Exhibition. Amazing beginning to the album. Just hooks you in. So good. Salt. A little more chemical-ish, and you're like, okay. Watchtower, phenomenal. When
Watchtower is probably top 10 Devil Wears Prada song.
Good. One of the best Prada songs. Yeah. Song that only they can do. Noise, fantastic. Broken, oh no, we're at chemical again. Sacrifice is another really great one up there with Watchtower. Yeah. Phenomenal song. Trap, I loved this song so much when it came out. It's kind of faded for me since then. And honestly, other than that, the only other song that I truly love is Hallucinate. And that's because it was a B-side or unused track from Z2. And you want to talk about making a perfect EP even more perfect, dude, add that in the middle of Z2, make it a 6-song EP. You've got one of the best EPs of all time. Like, I'm just going to say it. But Cancer, I think, is a very thought-provoking song.
Yeah.
And whether you love it or hate it musically, I really like that song a lot just because, as ashamed as I am to admit it, I think we've all had a moment where we kind of feel the way that those lyrics talk about. And it really made me do a lot of like introspection, like truly. And I think it was the first time a new Prada song made me actually look inward for like the first time in like 6 years. So all that to say, I think I could give this a B.
Okay, well, to give context to the people
Michael
listening,
S tier.
So I think I've talked with both of you. I know I've talked with Sean about this record when it came out, because I knew my opinion on this record right when it came out. I knew it from the singles. This record is like, it's such a mixed bag to me, because when the highs are highs, it's like everything I want. And when it's low, it's low. And I think that, well, I give this record a D.
Oh, shoot.
And the reason why I say that is that in the same way that The Act was something they were trying to do to be like experimental and trying to do something that's kind of weird and on their own terms, I respect it in that. I respect it in that way. No, don't do that.
Guys, this is wild. We don't have a single B for this band. They're either incredible or terrible.
And that's how I feel about Color Decay, because like Exhibition is cool. Salt, why? Watchtower is amazing. The Noise is amazing.
Yep.
Broken is like, this should have been their keyboardist solo project. To me, it's like they wrote a record. Instead of trying to be like Prada, they were like, oh, we've had a taste of the radio after 8 albums of not having a taste of the radio, and we should really try to make an album that caters to that. And here's the thing. It worked. It worked like a charm. But the Prada is more prosperous and more successful than they've ever been in their career since Dead Throne because of Color Decay. They are smart enough to write a record that had multiple singles on it, did the whole re-release singles, do the Chemical acoustic, do Salt acoustic, do whatever, do Color Decay deluxe. Like Color Decay is a monumental record for them because it worked to get them out there in a way that the past records that I think are amazing didn't do. Here's the thing. They did something that they wanted to do, and it worked for them. This record is not for me. In the same way that, Transit Blues isn't for Sean, this record is not for me. Because I feel like all the songs that made Prada into the bigger into the world don't sound like Prada to me. It just sounds like Jeremy is leading the band now, and Mike is just kind of in the background doing some screams here and there. And
that's fair.
When I listen to Devil Wears Prada, I've been listening to Mike this entire time. And I'm not trying to be rude to Jeremy, because I think Jeremy's a phenomenal musician, but he doesn't have the star-powered voice. He doesn't have like this voice that just is like, oh my gosh, his voice is incredible. It's always been like sparse throughout each record, where it's a really cool tool. And I feel like they're using that tool too much for my taste. I feel like this was a great radio record for them, and I don't like that. But here's the thing: like, I want them to be successful, and I'm glad that this record did that for them. But stylistically and as a whole, this is not the record for me. Despite the fact that there's like 5, 6 like S tier songs. I love Cancer. I love Hallucinate. I love Watchtower. Time, I think, even is one that I like more than oh no, not Time. 25. 25 is like peak Prada to me, and it just everything else just kind of just gets lost in the static to me.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I will say, I think you guys are bagging too much on salt. I was just listening to it quietly in the background. I'm like,
I think it's actually a fine song.
It sounds like the synth in the beginning. It's so cool in the background. Anyways, yeah, it's I guess overall we're kind of on a C.
I think a C is totally fine.
Mike, let me ask you this before we move on, or while Chris sets up the next band.
I have one last thing just to say about
Go for it, and then I'll ask.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think a lot of what Mike was saying with how this album kind of has done it for them, like made them more financially viable, I guess you could say. I think if they had one critique, if they ever watch this, which I know they won't, I'm not trying to say they don't care, but like, I wish, as much as they're one of those bands, and the whole theme of this episode is, you know, when we were Christian, I wish they could hone in their banter and stuff, like for the live performances. When I watch these live clips of them now,
it's so
especially
cringe.
when they did like the cruise ship tour thing, or like
it's just a bunch of frat guys. That's what it is.
It is so cringe. Like, it's just like, I can't watch this. I'm like, guys, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
If they could hone that in a little bit and just stop with like the little 13-year-old cussing, like just hone that in, you guys would, I think, be better off. Like, even for the crowd that doesn't care about that stuff.
I've even heard people in the secular crowd say they curse too much on stage.
Yeah,
and
like they are at the point now where they're like,
you guys are almost 40, right?
Let's effing go. Let's effing go. Like it's too much.
Also,
it is too much.
A lot of GDs too, which I gotta say, like even like
it's
the
sad.
non-Christian bands don't drop that often. Yeah. But yeah, Mike. Well, so Chris, while you get the next band up, do you think Prada will ever make a record again that you enjoy?
No.
Oh shoot! But there will be songs that you do enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, at least for me, I like with how their trajectory is. I don't think they're gonna release like an album that I'm gonna like.
Okay.
I will still say, like, because here's the thing: when you've given me like 6 S tier items, like I can always go back to those 6 items. It's not like you know, I'm listening to a band where they have 10 albums and I only like one of them. You know, like there's so much. There's more Prada that I like than Prada that I dislike, and so like I'm okay with that. But
Wait,
I want them.
We're not doing decas.
Okay, I'm totally like, I want them to be successful. I want them to thrive. But man, I cannot. I think that this next record is going to be like the first record that like I don't pre-order. Just really depends on the singles, but I do know that
Ritual better not be on the next.
Ritual
record,
was a mistake.
I do not like Ritual. I don't like Reason and whatever that other song was.
Yeah, I am not a fan.
I don't know. Was it called Ignorance or something?
So I forget. It was so forgettable.
Gonna be fun. Should I preface this?
Yeah, because I prefaced my opinion on, or like my journey with Gideon.
Okay.
So
all right. Okay, let's do it. All right, guys. I have never in my entire life enjoyed As I Lay Dying, pre or post almost murder. What Tim did.
Oh man.
I've just never gotten into them.
Actually,
before
post almost second one too.
Yikes!
A potential second one. I don't want to be
potential.
I don't want to lost to it.
Yeah, I'm potential. Allegedly.
We're not trying to make light of it.
From that video, we are not
crying.
Chris is making light of it. I am not. Sean Ely. But anywho, I've never gotten into them. I understand they are like the big 4 of metalcore. They're Mount Rushmore. I get it. I get that a lot of people say they're the GOAT. Finn McKenty had a video, which, by the way, that's a whole nother conversation.
Dude, you could not quote him in any serious way anymore.
That's true. That's true. The big four of metalcore, I think most people would agree, would probably be like As I Lay Dying, Kill Switch Engage. Probably some people might say Bullet for My Valentine.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would put ABR on there as well.
Yeah, maybe like a contender
some people would
of
put
like
Trivium.
Yeah,
I've heard
Trivium or like Parkway Drive, maybe.
Parkway Drive is definitely another. I think it's like between those six where you're like, yeah, those are probably the big four.
Yeah.
And maybe even Prada, maybe, but they weren't early enough. And they weren't influential enough early enough either. But anywho, so As I Lay Dying, I've never gotten into them. I've tried them. I've listened through a lot of their like most popular records multiple times throughout the years. I've done one full discography listen prior to this episode, prior to listening to it for this episode.
For Devil Wears Prada?
No. As I Lay Dying.
Oh, you have listened to everything once before.
I've listened to everything once before a few years back.
Okay.
Because I was like, maybe I'll like it now, and I didn't like it then. So I will say I went into it with such an open mind this time, and that's what I'm going to leave it at. This was the first time I've listened to their entire discography in like a 24-hour period.
All right.
Dang, you really like went hardcore with it.
I did. Anywho, so we've got their debut album, right?
Album, yeah.
That most people would think Frail Words Collapse is their first album.
I did for many years, literally up until like 6 months ago. I didn't know
up
that.
Until like this.
Yeah.
I thought Frail Words Collapse was there first, but I guess it's called Beneath. Was it Beneath the Encasing of Ashes?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a pretty cool name, I gotta say. Right off the bat, I was surprised how much I actually enjoyed it right off the bat. I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I get this. This is interesting. Like Mike said, Pref told me, just pretend it's Zayo and you'll like it. And I did. I was like, this is literally Zayo. And so I thought it was pretty cool. But it all sounded the same after like 40 minutes of it. Lyrically, it was actually the most Christian in their entire discography, which I thought was kind of cool. There was a lot of faith stuff in it. I'll give it a solid C.
Wow.
Because it was the first thing I've ever quote unquote enjoyed by the band.
Wow.
And the fact it was 2001, right? This came out in 2001. Like, it's a monster album for 2001. Bands weren't making music like that back then.
Well, Zayo was.
Zayo was. Good one.
Okay. Well, that's interesting because this record, man, it's like it's so much easier for me to remember this album as like not their first album, but like as album 0. You know what I mean? You know, because to me, it's like this album does not sound like As I Lay Dying, like as we know them from basically any other album.
Which is why I liked it.
which is so interesting because to me, this is literally Diet Dollar Store Zayo. And I this might also be controversial.
It's not only Diet Zayo, it's Dollar Store Diet.
Yeah, it's like Dollar Store Diet clearance section Zayo. It's Dollar Store Diet clearance on layaway Zayo. And I just to me, this record is just so boring. It is so just like you listen to this record. It's basically just open chugs and panic chords. There's really no like riffs. There's really no like. There's nothing really going on. I just feel like it's a very boring record. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time harping on this record because there's just really not a whole lot there. I don't think it's abysmal. I also don't think it's any good. I'm going to be that guy. And I'm going to come out and say it because I'm just determined to make this happen. But I give this one an E.
All right. I just wrote good for a debut, but doesn't hold up super well. Again,
That's
like
fair.
what Sean was saying, for the time, you know, as far as like metalcore goes, like, yeah, there wasn't much of an existence of metalcore. And it's a start. It's, you know, it's not the worst thing, but I initially gave it a D.
All right.
But I'm like, I could go
D?
for an E either way.
I can settle for D. I really can.
I'm okay with a D.
I'm now thinking C might be a little too high.
Yes, you are right. You are right.
Yeah. All right. Well.
All right. Here we go.
So initially, I did have the As I Lay Dying American Tragedy split EP in here, just because the songs from Beneath the Encasing of Ashes and that, where Michael, you were saying they were on Frail Words Collapse, but anyways, there was in 2006, The Long March, the first recordings, or 2005. There was basically all of these combined into one album.
Yeah.
So I initially had all the separate things there, and I had given that EP a D as well. It wasn't much better than Beneath the Encasing of Ashes, so we're skipping that. But Frail Words Collapse, I wrote, this is some high praise. Monotonous, monotone, all mixes together, and production is outdated.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
I gave it a C. It was definitely better than Beneath the Encasing of Ashes, which is funny.
Wait, you said that for Frail Words Collapse?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that might be controversial, but it's basically, if we were starting here, I would say this ties with their worst album. But Beneath the Encasing of Ashes is my worst album by them. But this is like just a
So you gave this a C?
A C, yeah.
Okay. I will take that. I see your C.
And raise you an S.
No, I will say this has always been the record by As They Lay Dying, that even as much as I've just never been a huge fan of them, this has always been the record where I'm like, well, I can understand it. 94 Hours is just a banger. It's so good.
That is one of their best songs.
Especially for 2003. It's like, okay, this is like groundbreaking metalcore. It just is. And Forever, also great. As you get into more of it, like, it's more just you really have to love the style to really love those songs that connect with them. I will say I really adore The Pain of Separation and Elegy as the final two tracks. But after like the first three tracks, maybe 4 or 5, a little bit, like, I'm really into it, and then I kind of get lost throughout the middle, and then I get pulled back when those last 2 tracks come up. Maybe a little bit of song 10, but this one's really hard because, like, I'd probably, in comparison to everything else, you know, I'll just say it's like it's a very low B for me. Very low B.
Okay.
Low B on a good day, high C on a meh
and
day.
That's kind of, I think I was probably thinking more on the high C. Like, I wouldn't say it's a low C. So I think we're kind of in the same vicinity, which is good.
And again, this is in the context of their full discography.
Well, while I appreciate what you had to say, I view this record very differently.
Go for it.
I think that they've certainly released better records than this record.
Okay.
But when you listen to Beneath the Encasing of Ashes to this record,
massive improvement.
It's like a monumental improvement. And the number one thing I walk away from with Frail Words Collapse is that like it's not just open chord, panic chord kind of breakdown. Like there's a lot of riffs, there's a lot of actual songwriting that you hear in Forever and 94 Hours. Like that stuff is really there.
And if I may, you make a great point, which I left out. I've never been huge on the super riffy metalcore, super shreddy riffy metalcore. It's never been my thing, which is why I've always had a hard time with this band. Okay, continue.
Okay, that's great context. You're wrong, but that's fine. With
Mike's just like no breakdowns, all riffs. That's all.
Yeah,
I am open chord chug breakdown kid. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am a musical guy. But I think Frail Words Collapse is like, it's almost like, when you're like you're really young and you're writing your first record and you have all the time to do it and you have all these expressive ideas and all these things going out there. Like you're not really crafting.
All the time. You mean like 10 years to do it? Or?
Yeah. Okay. Listen, man. But I feel like Frail Words Collapse As the Light Dying, like even though they've released better records than this, I do think that Frail Words Collapse is like their purest record. I feel like I feel like it's just very expressive for that.
Wait, what do you mean by pure?
Like they're just doing whatever. Like they're not really thinking about things in the grand scheme of things. They're just like we're just kids. We're writing riffs and everything's really good and everything's really energetic and we're doing things like they did like a little bit of mathcore on Distance is Darkness and they never did that on any other record. It's just like they're just doing cool things to try everything out. It's very pure in that way.
You know what? I did like that song.
Yeah, Distance is Darkness is one of my favorites. But like overall, I enjoy this record. I think the more I age, the more I like it. I give this one an A.
Does that average us out at a B?
I think that does average us out at a B because you gave it a C, right, Chris? Yeah, I think a B is fair. Totally.
And I gave a B. Okay. All right.
Now this was actually this album, Shadows Are Security, had the very first As They Lay Dying I ever heard in my life. Before I was into metal and before I even remotely liked it, I hated it. But I didn't know it was As They Lay Dying until like at least 10 years later, if not longer.
Wow.
Like I was into them after this and like I still didn't know that this was them, but my friend used one of their he used sorry, is it Illusions? Illusions has the weird Illusions, which is the final song. He used that in like a trailer for a short film that he was making. And I just remember hearing like the guitar where it's almost like a siren when it comes. It's like,
oh yeah,
and it goes into the breakdown, and then it's just like the screaming that like every typical person who doesn't like metal just makes fun of metal for sounding like blah, 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 blah. Like I just had no context for what this was. But years later, after I was a fan of the band, I saw that guy's video again, and I was like, no way. I'm like, A, I love this now, but B, I'm like, it's As They Lay Dying.
That's funny.
So yeah, this album is super solid, enjoyable record, but classic songs. So songs like Through Struggle, and to me anyways, Illusions, but The Darkest Nights, like those 3 songs together really make this album. But I think this was the major step up into like, we're a serious band. This is like, we're getting signed. I think Frail Words Collapse, they already were signed, but like this was like not necessarily mainstream, but they were becoming notable. And so there's just the production on it compared to previous work. This was where they had like the higher budget. Like this was kind of when it started becoming the As They Lay Dying that we really, really know. But yeah, I gave this one an A. I think the cover art is pretty iconic. Like,
yeah.
It's just one of those like memorable covers where even if you don't know who the band is, you've seen that cover art somewhere.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, there's just a lot marking this album as like a great album. But I will say, now that it's been a couple months since I've listened to it again, and I've only heard it maybe 3 times now total, it's not one that I like go back to, and it's like I want to call it a great album, but it's not like entirely memorable to me. But overall, I gave it an A for my ranking. Like it's up there in the discography for me. But again, it's not one I've had like a whole lot of time with. So that might change down the road, you know.
I love that, dude. That's awesome.
Thank you. I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
Oh no! Okay. Sean, do you want to go next?
Yawn.
What?
So as I've said before,
I took a sip of water right in that moment, and I just sat and I watched Michael's face for a second. It almost made me spit all over my computer.
As I've said before, As I Dying is not the band for me. It all sounds the same to me. So you want to know something interesting that I noticed while I was listening and critiquing them? Everything that ABR's, everyone knows I'm like the biggest ABR stan out there. Every criticism that ABR gets from ABR's biggest critics is exactly how I feel about this band.
So like, this should be the band for you.
Word for word.
You like the monotonous, same-sounding band.
Exactly. But they're doing a sound I'm not huge on to begin with. There's
fair.
a difference. Dude, Mike just lost his headphones, shaking his head in disapproval so hard.
I have a feeling that he's going with S on this one.
Sorry, I was trying to crack my neck and I went too hard in my.
I told them that you were disagreeing with me so hard and nodding your head. So
what
violently.
You said gave me a crack in my neck that I needed to get out. So I guess that is true.
So that being said, yawn does not mean it's bad. It just means it didn't captivate me, and it just felt like a lot of the same. That being said, The Darkest Nights has been stuck in my head all week.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great track. I really like that song. Through Struggle, also a great track. Illusions, also really great, just like Chris said. Whole album gets a C from me. Because I enjoyed it less than Frail Words Collapse.
Oh.
You enjoyed this less than Frail Words?
Yes, I think Frail Words is a better album.
This is the podcast where we expose Mr. Sean Finn McKenty Ely. You guys need to stop taking his opinion as gospel.
I don't stop taking my opinion seriously. I don't care. I'm just a guy. I post the music I enjoy. Okay? My opinion means nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, I'm just gonna say it. This album is an S tier album. It is like, oh my gosh, dude.
Oh. So you were genuinely being nice when you.
Oh no, I was.
opinion.
Yeah, oh man, dude, this album is just. It's like this really cool combination of like, they have 3 singles from this album, and it's Confined, Through Struggle, and The Darkest Nights, and those are the only 3 songs with clean vocals on it. And everything else,
coincidentally, the best 3 songs.
Okay. But I think they did something really smart with this record, where they were like, okay, we need to kind of like break into the metal mainstream, and so we need to put like some singles up. But also we kind of want to do what we want to do like all the time, and I don't care. And that's what this record is to me. It's a super moody, expressive album. There's so many big moments and so many like impactful riffs and breakdowns and everything. But when it's time to get like radio friendly, quote unquote, they still like like, I mean, I know that we just talked about like Prada before, but like writing a song like Broken is not the radio song I want to hear from Prada. That's not what I want from Prada. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But The Darkest Nights is what I want As I Lay Dying to sound like on the radio. Through Struggle is what I want As I Lay Dying to sound like on the radio. And same thing with Confined. And it worked. This record is like it's not a perfect example, but it's a grandiose feat of metalcore at that time of not playing into the radio gimmicks, but playing with them in a way that still is true to the sound of this record. And I think this record is so beautifully crafted and spaced that every time I put this on, it's a no skip. It is just it's incredible to me. This is an S tier for me.
Chris, what did you give this?
I gave it an A. So it automatically runs out as an A.
Yeah,
I know you went. You went to a C, Sean? Not even.
I went to C. Well, because I like it less than Frail Words Collapse. So logically, it'd be a C.
No, this one has to be an A. I'm sorry.
All right.
This is the album that
will carry me through the darkest nights.
I love that.
That's for you, Sean. Just remember that when you go to bed tonight.
I will. An Ocean Between Us. This is like the As I Lay Dying record, correct?
Yes. Yeah, this is the album. Yeah.
Okay.
This is easy answer on this one.
Everything within my soul while I listened to this record was just saying, pause this and turn on Messengers. Everything in my being is just like, why would you listen to this in 2007 when you have an album as incredible as Messengers? I just do not get it. I don't understand it. Cool, he moves his hand fast on the guitar. Big deal. I don't get
Michael.
it. I do not understand it. I don't. I'm sorry. The lyrics mean absolutely nothing.
An Ocean Between Us is
every song sounds the same. Every song sounds exactly the same.
No, it doesn't.
I do not. Not a single song on this album stood out to me. I don't get it.
Not a single. Okay, Sean.
I don't get it.
You were
so
obviously
bored
on your period when you.
Oh my.
I'm just kidding. If you honestly think that no song stands out, like, I don't even understand how you can't think that it's at least one song. Like,
I don't
remember a single song from it. I do not remember a single song from it. I'm sorry. I don't. So much so, I didn't even realize when it ended.
Then you obviously weren't paying attention to. You were doing something else.
I was like, wait, this sounds different. Am I still on this record? And I'm like, oh, I'm not.
There's two songs on this record that are like some of the best metalcore songs of all time.
Which one? Is that Nothing Left and Forsaken?
No, neither of those.
Which song?
I Never Wanted.
Okay.
And The Sound of Truth.
I don't know. I've tried
The Sound
this
of
album.
Truth is one of the best metalcore songs ever written, in my opinion.
I'm going to play The Sound of Truth for like 15 seconds.
Okay, well, the beginning probably doesn't help. Like, hold on.
I'm just going to skip through to remember if maybe this was a song I liked. Just give me a second.
Dude, skip to 36 seconds. This chorus is one of the best choruses ever. Sean's going to say the lyrics are ironic or something.
I understand why people like it. I don't. I think it's over. Like, I just don't get it. The melody. I'm not a fan of the melody. Okay, here's another thing. I've never liked Tim scream. I don't think he's a very dynamic. Oh, Chris didn't even hear that. Chris, no. You missed what I said. I said I don't even like. I'm not a fan of Tim's scream.
Well, neither.
I don't think he's that dynamic.
Wait, which one?
Yeah, which of the three?
The first and third, I think. So
there you go. I don't know. I don't think he's that dynamic. Like I've always been, I feel unnecessarily critical of this band without without the whole Tim thing. Like I don't know. I just see. Like
see.
See you later.
Sorry, it just doesn't do anything for me.
Sean, I
it should not be as big as it is. Like I just don't get it. I understand why people like it. I get why it's popular. I don't get why it's considered groundbreaking.
This is the easy answer.
No, there's no way.
Michael, you agree with me, right? Easy answer.
This is absolutely in the top 10, if not top 5 metalcore records of all time.
I understand it is.
And
this is with Roots Above and Branches Below. This is better than with Roots Above and Branches Below.
I'll listen to With Roots any day of the week over this.
Dude, The Sound of Truth is one of the greatest songs ever written. Nothing Left, Within Destruction, Bury Us All. Oh, dude, I'm just okay.
This is everything that I thought this episode was going to be.
It gets so much worse, Chris. It gets so much worse. Dude, you guys have no clue what's coming next.
This is probably one of the best written, most dynamic, most crafted metalcore records I think I've ever heard in my entire life.
This is what, my opinion from my musical history and everything, The Sound of Truth and Constellations by August Burns Red. Those are they're two vastly different records, two vastly different metalcore sounds, but those are my two pinpoints for what metalcore is.
Yeah, whenever I think of metalcore, I think of An Ocean Between Us and As Daylight Dies from Killswitch Engage. That is what metalcore is, and this is man, I
wait, hang on. You prefer As Daylight Dies over End of Heartache?
I mean, I would say that I think they're both great. I would prefer to listen to As Light Dying over both of those personally.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But here's my thing: if you don't understand it, then that's fine. I can live with that. But one thing I just want to say right off the bat. I guess not right off the bat. I'm really late. I've been talking for a few minutes, but out of the first 4 August Burns Red records, I think Messengers is easily the worst. And if you think that you would rather listen to Messengers over this, that is a level of connecting dots in my brain that just it is impossible to have the neurons just talk to each other in that way. That makes no sense to me. And I love those first 4 August Burns Red records. I actually like a few of the other stuff later down the road. Not as much, clearly, but dude, Ocean Between Us, that is a record that I will die painfully and slowly on a hill over. That record is flawless.
If there could be something higher than S, this would be that.
Literally, if I could put it higher.
So we're vetoing this. It's higher than an S, so we'll even it out at an S.
So what is... What did you give it? You gave it a C?
Yeah, I gave it a C.
I can't even.
Dude, that is traumatic. That is traumatic. If we have to put it at an A for the sake of what this is, I can live with that because it at least lives with Shadows Are Security. But for everyone who's listening, just know that Michael Osborn says that record is an S tier record.
So,
do what you have to.
I have to.
Yay!
We will be dragged into the streets and beaten if we don't do that.
Bro, I can't wait for what people say about this record when this is out.
Oh, I don't care.
I am so excited. Oh, I don't either, but I just really want to know.
Okay, to be completely fair to the way that this all works, we have 2 S's and a C.
Yeah, I think it
has to bring it to an A.
I think we need to make it an A.
Okay, it's going before.
That's an integrity move right there, Chris. I respect that.
Thank you.
Wait, did you say the lyrics were meaningless? Did you read them?
Yeah, it's like you said earlier when you were talking about Prada and what separates them and how most metalcore bands are just like, let's go take on the giant. That's what I feel when I read these.
Oh, man. This...
Explain to me how they're a Christian band. I still don't understand that. Like, none of these lyrics are about faith. Band? Because their lyrics are about Jesus back then.
Okay.
Because their lyrics were literally about Jesus.
Okay.
They say Jesus Christ in their lyrics.
Shadows Are Security is literally an album. The entire thing is based in Ecclesiastes. He said that in an interview. All the lyrics on Ecclesiastes.
Oh, see, I never knew that.
Yeah, of course. So don't say anything about it, okay? I'm joking. I love you. But An Ocean Between Us, man, gosh, like there's so much spiritual significance to that record. Oh, my Lord. I just...
It's just never clicked for me.
And the Sound of Truth, the lyrics of that song can apply to like so many things. But like, if you're coming from a Christian perspective, especially speaking to somebody who's not a Christian, like I think lyrically that song... Yeah. Anyways. Man, that was out of everything that we've done on this podcast, Sean, that was the hardest moment for me to watch.
I thought I was gonna have like the one to make you two wrestle, but I'm walking away. Sean, you are way more powerful than I am. You have deeply affected like my innermost being of my soul with giving that album a barely passable grade in school. That
Hey, you know what? C's get degrees. Y'all graduated with the same degree.
Okay.
Y'all are qualified for the same job.
The powerless rise. You know what, Sean? Just rip the Band-Aid. What did you think of this record?
This record is amazing. This is the first time in my life I've ever connected with this band. This is the first time I've ever connected with this band, and I'm like, I get it now. I get why people like this band. Okay.
Did you go back to this?
No, because none of that stuff sounds like this record. That's the thing. They completely changed their sound into a palatable sound for Sean Ely. Dude, Anodyne C, incredible. That song gave me chills. That's the first song that's ever given me chills by As I Lay Dying. Absolutely adore that. Parallels, incredible. Upside Down Kingdom, so good.
Upside Down Kingdom, Christian band. Like that song is like...
That's fine, but I never said that about this record. I said that about the previous one. But anyway, I give this an A.
Okay. Finally, Sean has come to his senses.
Okay, you know what?
Do As I Lay Dying fans like this album? I have no clue.
I think so. I give this one an A as well.
Why was everyone freaking out when I said I like this?
Because it makes no sense how you went from the last one to this one with that opinion.
Okay, that's fair. There's cognitive dissonance.
Dude, yeah. So context for this one for me, when this one came out, I was so disappointed with it. It's
kind of the same.
Yeah, I was not happy with this record like at all when it came out. There were a few songs that I liked, but I did not gravitate with the whole record as a whole. To me, like An Ocean Between Us and Shadows Are Security and Frail Words Collapse all kind of go inside this like really expressive, really emotive type metalcore, really melodic. And I feel like this record is way more like, we're just going to make something that's brutal and aggressive and maybe a bit more like proper metal. And that's really hard for me to kind of like gravitate with a lot of the times. However, I mean, when did this record come out? It's been over 10 years, right?
2010. It was 2010.
Yeah, 2010. So 15 years later, out of 15 years of listening to this record, I can say now that I really did... I really judge this album too harshly, especially with how their later records go, which we'll get to there. But I would totally give this album a B. I think that it's a phenomenal work, but I do not think it's as good as An Ocean Between Us or Shadows, but I think it's on par with Frailwords Collapse. But you guys both gave it A, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you guys
this
both
is
gave it
why when you look at the tier right now, like, that looks wrong, but the thing that makes it right in my eyes is that.
Yeah. See, I would put Powerless next to Frail Words, in my opinion, but
Right.
for this purpose, I am fine with that.
Okay.
Because in my opinion, like, everything on the A tier is better than Frail Words, so that makes sense to me.
Right.
But I think
I had to ruin this one.
but
I'm not done ruining it. I hope you know.
Well, I mean, I don't know if... See, I'm curious now where we go if you had that much of a jump there, because honestly, the rest of...
I want to hear what you guys think about this before I say a word.
About which one?
Awakened.
Awakened, okay. Right, we're skipping Decus.
That's not a real record.
Yeah, it's like a comp, you know.
I would almost call it an EP. Like,
yeah, I would say it's an EP. You know,
if you get rid of all the weird remixes and stuff, but like,
It's like a
Paralyzed
B-sides
is one of
album,
their
right?
main songs. Like,
yeah.
But okay, Awakened.
Question: how long before the whole scandal did this one come out? Because the scandal was what, 2013?
Yeah, Awakened was
And
the
this was
last
2012.
record before the scandal.
I know it was,
It
but
was
how
like-
long was there in between
I don't know, like
release
6
and
months?
scandal comes out?
Yeah,
I think
it was not.
it was
not.
that. It was that quick.
Yeah, they never really toured Awakened, from my knowledge.
I didn't know that.
I think-
okay,
okay,
I didn't
no, they
realize
did,
it was
so
that much
I
time.
can't remember if it was a launch, like an album launch show, but they did a live stream.
So do you think he did that while they were recording this, or was it after it came out?
It was after.
I
'cause I
Like,
think
did
it
he
all
get
happened
caught?
after
Right?
the
Did he get caught right when he was doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got caught
Okay.
right when he was doing it.
I wasn't like part of the scene. I was like part of the hard rock scene.
Dude, this
I was into like Red and Skillet
this
and Disciple, and I
devastated
remember
me.
hearing, because I knew who As I Lay Dying were. I knew who all the Christian metal bands were that were too scary and heavy for me to like.
Mhm.
And I remember hearing about Tim, and like I remember hearing him say all the Christian metal bands are fake and not
Yeah.
Christian. And I was like, oh, do I even want to explore that? But
Dude,
Oh
this
yeah,
story.
he like
wrecked
I
me.
remember being in Pluckers on my on my iPod connected to the Wi-Fi, going through my Facebook feed, seeing this article.
wait, what is Pluckers?
Oh, sorry, Pluckers
It was
is like
linked to the iPod
Is
with
that
the
a fried
Wi-Fi.
chicken restaurant?
yeah, it's like a wing restaurant.
What a great name.
Yeah, it's really good. But I remember being in Pluckers with all of like my youth group friends, actually members of Diatheke and our older band Citadel. And I remember coming across the article and breaking the news to everybody there. Like, Tim Lambesis is in jail for trying to murder his wife. And everything he was saying,
Wild.
like, it was the most heartbreaking thing. I know we're getting a little off topic, but like, as like An Ocean Between Us, the song Nothing Left is the very first metalcore track I ever listened to. So like, not only do I have an affinity for that record for that reason, I also think it just aged well. But to be there in the middle of like a restaurant waiting for my food and seeing like, oh, one of my favorite bands is like going to jail, blew my mind. And I don't know. I think this kind of ties into what I'm gonna say about Awakened, because I do know that from testimonies of past members and I guess pseudo current members, they all see things behind the scenes for sure, and they're like conflicted because this is like their career and this is what they want to do, but like, you know, there's kind of a nutcase in our band, or alleged nutcase. So I think Awakened really suffers from band internal stuff, because to me this sounds like the most disconnected, dry, not interesting As I Lay Dying record that's out there.
Mhm.
I would give this one a C. I don't think it's horrible, but I think it's very boring and very dry.
Dude, we are so mostly in sync about this band, at least the modern stuff. But like, I gave it a C as well. I said it's not really memorable other than one song.
Yeah. Oh, what's
And-
that? Is it Cauterize or a Greater
No,
Foundation?
a Greater
song.
Foundation. But
yeah, it's a great song.
I also wrote right after that in brackets, I said ironic lyrics.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much on this record
that's ironic,
that speaks to the whole situation.
It is incredibly ironic.
It's insane. It's like prophesying the downfall of this band.
It almost makes it feel premeditated.
Yeah, it's
looking back in hindsight,
it's very strange how the album worked out. Dude, what's actually funny is I remember seeing them. There was a tour where it was As I Lay Dying and Devil Wears Prada co-headlining, and the openers were The Color Morale and For Today. And I saw that.
Oh, what a show!
It was a phenomenal lineup. But Awakened had either just come out it had just come out, and then Devil Wears Prada was about to release 818. And I saw As I Lay Dying on that tour, and it was one of the last days on the tour, to my knowledge. And literally 4 days later, the news came out. The tour had ended, and it was the most mind blowing thing. Kind of got on a little side tangent, but I think that this record suffers from a lot of band internal stuff, because this record just feels so disconnected and so it's almost like they didn't know if they wanted to make a classic metal record with metalcore infusion, or I just feel like this record doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, so they did a live album release show. It was one of the first ever live streams. Actually, Disciple did one around the same time.
Nice.
For Oh God Save Us All, because I watched both of those with one of my friends, and I remember being so excited to watch the release show. And it's I think they only played a handful of songs from the record. It was a mix of this and older songs. But I remember just being so disappointed by the live stream. And then when I heard the music, when I finally heard the full album, I was just kind of it's just not this. It didn't seem like the same band. Coming off of the last two records. Granted, at the time, I think I didn't even listen to Decus at all at the time. But coming off of An Ocean Between Us and The Powerless Rise, and when The Powerless Rise came out, that was right when I got into metal. I was obsessed with metalcore, and just going into Awakened, it was just such a massive disappointment. Other than A Greater Foundation, I think that is probably one of their I don't know, top 10, but it's up there for one of their great songs. But that's it. When I was listening to this again, I was just this is what I felt what Sean was describing early on. I'm just this is monotonous. It all sounds the same. And there's nothing to this record.
Yeah.
How he thinks that about An Ocean Between Us, I'll never know. But
yeah, there's the cognitive dissonance of you not liking that record is the same as my cognitive dissonance of not understanding why you don't like the record. It's so I'm going to be thinking about this for weeks, dude. For weeks.
So, are we all giving it a C? Or what did
no,
Sean?
I haven't talked.
Okay, yeah.
I haven't talked. This is an S. Mike just went to bed.
For those of you listening to this podcast and not watching,
give Mike a chance.
Both Michael and I just went into complete utter shock.
So this, I was beyond shocked at this record. I did not expect to love this record so much. I listened to this front to back yesterday for the first time ever, and I thoroughly enjoyed every track.
This is the recency bias.
Agreed. No, because I listened to all of them yesterday.
No, but it's because you went through it in order. So
I've gone through it in order before. Once before,
clicked with you.
Yeah, it is.
And so now, when you listen to
the whole album,
I
didn't think the whole album was that way. I didn't think the whole album was that way for Powerless Rise. So that's not true. A Greater Foundation is my favorite As I Lay Dying track.
Okay, but
I think that song
what are
is
the
phenomenal.
any other good song on this record?
Cauterize is great.
Okay.
Resilience is amazing. I really liked Whispering Silence was great. I just liked every song, and everything Mike said, I feel the opposite. I don't see how it doesn't flow well. I think it flows perfectly. I love the sound throughout. I just love the way the songs are written. The choruses, the clean vocal sections are what really draw me in. I love a good metalcore chorus, super catchy, just transition into like Josh Gilbert has amazing cleans. I think we can all agree.
He is one of the best
that.
clean vocalists, I think.
I agree, and that's why I wasn't huge on their earlier stuff, because it's like, why are you leaving that out? You got like one of the best clean vocalists in the game.
Was Josh Gilbert there in the early?
No,
I thought he was an original member.
No,
wasn't he
joined the record.
Okay.
He joined on An Ocean Between Us.
Yeah.
Did he? Okay,
and that's why they got better.
Okay,
like,
that makes sense. Well, anywho, I just really liked this record a lot, and I remember coming away from it thinking, if I can get past 10, I don't know where you guys are at. Like, if you guys have a hard time listening to this band now or not.
No, not really.
No, okay. I'm like, if I can get past that, which I probably shouldn't want to get past that, but like, if I do, I want to listen to this record more. I want to dive into it more, and I want to hear it more, and I want to really just experience it more, because I like it so much. It's exactly what I'm looking for in my metalcore.
The last 20 seconds of you talking should be for An Ocean Between Us. I've never... Okay.
He's just going to edit it.
I've never heard somebody dig themselves more into a hole with being so complimentary to a record.
It's fine.
Oh, man.
Dude, imagine how chaotic this segment would have been if I wasn't here, because I'm like like you know what I mean? Like I expected to come on here to be a little bit of chaos, but now I'm wondering, like, if I wasn't here, you guys would be like battling over the absolute most polar opposite ends of As I Lay Dying, and then like I'm like the middleman now, because there's two C's and an S. That is insane to me that you think this is an S, but like I respect it. So gosh.
So that means this
was my favorite.
Right?
Yeah, this was my favorite by the band.
Oh my lord. This is like considered like one of the lowest by the fans.
That's fine.
That's so I oddly respect it. I really do.
Thank you.
I oddly respect it.
I respect the honesty, but I do not respect the opinion.
Fine. All right, I'm gonna take us into Shaped by Fire.
Okay, this is gonna blow my mind. If you
I'm just willing. I'm ready to get hurt. I don't.
Okay. Can we agree that My Own Grave is a really fantastic track?
Oh, absolutely.
There's a handful of really amazing songs on this.
That's
record.
one of the best Ailed songs, I'd say. Is My Own Grave. You've never heard anyone say Ailed?
No.
Okay, well, I have. I think My Own Grave is really good. I like Blinded a lot. Blinded is fantastic.
Yep.
Other than that,
Shaped by Fire and Undertow.
This record,
Undertow's
like,
cliche, but it's catchy.
I love Undertow.
The Undertow was good. This record runs into a lot of what I run into with the rest. Like, when the songs are really good, they're really good, and when the songs aren't really good, they're just kind of there. And for that reason, I'd give this C.
Oh my god!
Maybe a B. I'd be okay with a B, but like, again, I like it less than Frail Words Collapse, or probably just as much as Frail Words Collapse. Which, did I give that a B or a C? I think I gave it like a high B.
You gave it a low B. I gave it a
Shaped
high
by
C.
Fire is, I don't think Shaped by Fire is that great of a track. I'm not a fan of that chorus. That clean vocal section just doesn't jive with me. I don't like that melody.
You know what? This might be the first time in the last 45 minutes where we're aligned on something.
Let's go!
No!
Let's
Michael,
go!
what are you doing to me?
Mike, I love you.
I think this record is a C.
Yes, let's go.
But I also thought Awakened was a C. I think that Awakened and Shaped by Fire are very much tied, in my opinion.
What?
But if you gave it, what did you give it?
I gave it a C.
You gave it a C? Oh, you gave it a C?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Would Chris give it?
Well, all right,
I
Chris.
haven't said it yet.
All right, Chris,
okay.
tell us your grievance. Tell us where you're laying dying.
So obviously this was them coming back from
everything,
which is crazy. But I think a big chunk of the fan base had a hard time getting back with Tim, like especially when this happened. But like the songs, like when this came out, I thought these songs were. This album has the most amount of memorable songs. Like, I'm not saying that they are the best songs like in the whole discography or anything, but like the sheer amount of like choruses that are like, oh, I could sing along with. I haven't listened to this album in 5 years. I could sing those lyrics as I hear it. The production's different, but it's really solid. I think it's arguably their best cover art. Like, it's not necessarily the best, like most memorable or whatever. Like we talked about Shadows of Security, but like the actual artwork, when you analyze it and see it, like all the details in it, I'm like, this is probably my favorite artwork. But like, I don't know, maybe it's just that this came out at a time in my life where I just needed this record. I don't know, like lyrically, maybe it's a little bit more cliched than some of their older stuff, but me being the 2010 metalcore kid, like, I don't know, cliche lyrics, I guess, are my thing.
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. And I want to ask this without sounding like a jerk. I mean this with all the sincerity in my heart. What do you go through to where you need this record? That's more of an insult to this record, not to what you're going through. I'm just like, this is a record about being upset that you tried to kill your wife.
See that? I can get why you say it.
You know what? Now I'm on Sean's side. What are you going through, man? We're your friends.
Please, honey, if you listen to this, I love you. And that is not at all what I thought. My wife does periodically listen to this podcast.
We could totally edit this out. If I did not mean to offend you at all, if it meant that way.
No, I wasn't. I'm genuinely wondering, like, and if it was like something super personal, like, I'm not trying to be a jerk or minimize what you went through. That's not what I'm doing.
Right.
But to me, I don't know what this album has other than what I said it has.
I think maybe...
Is it just going through a trial? Is it just like rebuilding all of that? Is it just those themes?
Yeah. Like, okay, like that's fair. Shaped by Fire, Redefined. Like, obviously, My Own Grave. I think that song more in particular speaks to that whole situation. And that was that the first single?
Oh, totally.
My Own Grave was the first
comeback
single,
yeah. Yeah. So like that song was very clearly, like, when it came out, like you could see Tim's, like the lyrics were like, oh, this is Tim's story of, you know. But I don't know. I think as a whole, the album was just very much like you went through a hard trial and you know, being shaped by fire. That was like, I guess a core theme to me at the time. And I guess when I listened to the CD in my car as I drove up the island and we were heading off with like the youth group to do like a mission trip. We were going away for like a week or whatever. And that was like very much out of my comfort zone. It's weird looking back at that it doesn't even feel like life after like COVID and everything happened. But like, I don't know, I guess this is something I listen to periodically, but I can look back to, it's like a marker of a different time like
right.
because of COVID, like which was shortly after this, but it was just like yeah, I don't know. There's something that sticks with me with this record. I don't know why. I'm not saying it's their best, but like I thought that this one was an A, which was weird because like I thought Decus was a C, Awakened was a C. No spoilers too much, but I don't like the next one very much. But it's like this was the As I Lay Dying comeback that I hoped it would be.
Interesting.
But it didn't stick around too long.
Interesting.
So you gave it an A, I gave it a C, and you gave it a C. So is that a B?
It's a B.
Or yes, it's a B.
See, like
I'm totally fine with it being a B because to me,
I would put this down here.
Right. I mean, I would put both of them in.
Actually, I would put this down. But yeah, like
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I love you guys.
I love you too, man.
I love you too. I'm said. Did I offend you?
No.
Okay.
Because for real, like I don't. Like, I want you to be okay. I didn't want anything to
I wasn't trying to make light of like a situation you went through. I really wasn't. I just could not. I was like, isn't that album? That's what it's about. And that's what I associate. I can't associate it with anything other than that.
And I can see why. Like, I totally get that perspective.
And that's a really cool story. And I'm glad you had that.
Oh, thank you.
I too have tons of albums who I may not be the biggest fan of them musically, but like they mark a significant point in my life.
Right. And like, I think with all this being said, like the whole fan base forgiving Tim, which whatever you want to talk about that conversation.
What does that even mean?
I know exactly. But like, I'm one of those people that, as we've talked about with like Gideon and the Devil Wears Prada, and especially Gideon, like lyrically, like I'm the kind of person where I'm like, I don't necessarily, or I try not to, but I kind of take it personal. Like, so like obviously when the whole thing happened with this band, like that was hard for me because like I was a big fan of it, but like the fact that it was one of the biggest Christian bands and this was what was happening, and me being the like just out of high school, that impacted me so much, and I took it personal in a way, even though I'm totally outside of this. I'm not trying to like bring myself into the story at all, but like it hurt trying to get past all of that hurt and seeing this album come into existence. And then to me it hit like enough. I was trying to be like forgiving. I really don't know how to talk about this without sounding weird, but it's just like trying to get past that, and I think I kind of did. But then going into this next record,
this sets up the next record very well.
Here we go. Through Storms Ahead. This album is terribly boring. Terribly boring.
Wow.
Wait.
I don't get it. It's just.
I agree with Sean.
It's like Shaped by Fire, but without the good songs.
Wait, Michael, don't tell me you like this one.
D.
Man,
I cannot tell you how much I like despise like this band at this point in time. And so
I would say
everything about I'm so sick of this band.
That's the first
when
one.
this album came out, granted, I did not listen to it when it came out. Yesterday was the first time I ever listened to it because I did not care about it. Because I have not cared about this band. And then when all that stuff happened with Tim and all the band members leaving, I was just like, can I never hear about this band again? Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's a D. It's not great. It's boring.
Well,
did you do the sound from the D list? Like,
what's
the YouTube
D-list?
show?
I don't know what that is.
Never mind. When he went,
No.
That's like, it's a car channel, the Donut Media.
Oh, is it? No, I was just like,
Yeah.
D.
Okay. Anyways.
Well, I think this is their best since Powerless Rise. which isn't saying, I guess, a whole lot. I think this record is really well done. I think it's a more consistent and way more dynamic record than Shaped by Fire. I feel like Shaped by Fire.
Wait, what did you just say?
I thought I was the only one who heard it.
I heard it.
Sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I said Shaped by Fire. No. I said Shaped by Fire.
Just the way
it didn't sound like that.
Okay, have you ever seen the commercial? I forget what it is, but it's a, you can edit this out if you want. I don't care.
I know what you're talking about.
But it's just like,
is it the one about where you can buy pants online?
Yeah, it's like I shipped my
Kmart.
pants. It's like I shipped my mattress.
I shipped my pants. Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I was going into Through Storms Ahead, like I wasn't expecting it to be bad or good. I was just kind of like, okay, like I'm kind of disconnected from this band now.
Mm-hmm.
But after Shaped by Fire, I mean, literally everybody in the band left besides Tim and Phil. And
like 3 or 4
Phil
days before the album came out.
Yeah. But the thing is like,
Phil wasn't here for it at all.
No, Phil was here for this record.
I thought Phil left.
No, Phil's been playing with Spirit Box.
No, that's Josh. That's Josh Gilbert.
Oh, sorry. I always get those names mixed up.
Yeah. So after.
By the way, did you see
that.
Josh Gilbert's house burned down in the LA wildfires?
No way.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that on the story. So prayers out to Josh.
Absolutely. Prayers out to all these bands. And Sean for not liking An Ocean Between Us. Their new drummer that replaced Jordan is an absolute monster. The bass player that replaced Josh is an absolute talent. The guitar player.
Are these guys from other bands?
Yeah,
notable bands.
So the bass player on this record is the bass player from Miss May I. The drummer and the guitar player are from Unearth. To my knowledge. So literally,
so they almost became a super group.
They almost became a super group, and like the talent that's on Through Storms Ahead is monumentally like so impressive to me. Mm-hmm. Especially in their live videos of before this record came out, because obviously they're not touring this record for obvious reasons. But when they were touring with that lineup, me and my brother John, we were like floored with how great they were and how well they complement. So like I was looking forward to this record to see what they would bring to the table. And basically, long story short, was like I was very satisfied with it. Mm-hmm. I think that this record is way more colorful. I think it's way more dynamic than Shaped by Fire. I think Shaped by Fire maybe has a lot of like, yeah, we're good, but like we're still not good. And then Through Storms Ahead probably had maybe a good writing process, but then a bad execution season, because obviously the band is where they are right now, where it's just him. But I actually thought I don't think it's their best record by any means. I also think that it's not. I think that with the talent that they had there, like they made a really impressive record. And it sucks that everything's going down the way that it is because we don't know the full story on Tim, and I think that there's actually a lot of abuse that's been portrayed on him from his partner, based off things I've seen. Granted, I'm not saying anything to get me liable or whatever, but I just think that there's more to the story with Tim this time versus the past, where it's way more like, yeah, you did something bad.
It's not as cut and dry as it was.
It's not as cut and dry, and I think that this record, I think that I think the record's good, and I hope Tim gets the help that he needs, because like I would like to see him recover and get healed. But at the same time, like I understand why people wouldn't like this record. But I think that there's so many good songs, and I can listen to it all the way straight through and find something to enjoy pretty much in everything. And so for that reason, like I was going to give it like the same rating as, I guess in this context, I would give it a B. Like I would honestly give it a B. But you guys both said C, right?
So actually,
I said D. Chris hasn't.
I haven't given my thoughts yet. I gave it a C/B because I was kind of undecided. I think So the thing beyond this album, like I didn't go into it with context of who the other musicians were. Like I didn't really do any sort of research. Like I understand that perspective of knowing musicians from certain projects and then they go into this other project and then and if you're already a fan of them, that kind of like elevates it because you know their work, sort of, so to speak. Like,
right, yeah.
This I have zero context with who any of the other guys were. I just knew that like it was him and or Tim and Phil. That was it.
Right.
So musically, like it was okay. Like it, you know, it sort of sounds like As I Lay Dying. I think the production is partly what I don't like about this record. Like it's, I don't know if there's something like cheaper feeling about it, or like because it's even more modern, like more compression or something. I don't know how to describe it really. I'm not an expert in it, but like it just sounds too different from everything else they've ever done. Combined with I don't like to say it, Tim vocally has gotten worse. Like
he 100%
his vocals are starting to sound Shaped by Fire. I think the very first time, like when My Own Grave came out, I was like, oh, he sounds different, which I mean makes sense. It's been like 8 years or whatever it was since you know. I think it got executed in a way that I was fine with it. Like it, you know, I'm like, okay, it sounds a bit different, but the songwriting, everything was fine with me. Like I really enjoyed that record overall because of everything else around it.
Right.
Whereas this record, I feel combined with the production, not knowing half the band and Tim's vocals like going even worse, everything just sounded so to me. Like, granted, I think for almost the entire As I Lay Dying discography, like when I was going through this, I didn't read the lyrics. I know the old stuff enough that I was just, you know, not paying attention really. With this album, like I think I did try and read some of it as I kind of streamed it on Spotify, but it hit me less. But then combined with everything else, I was just like, this was probably the most boring record. Awakened to me was bad. This was just kind of like I don't know. And it was hard to form like a really strong opinion. I just didn't really enjoy my time with it. And granted, till this day, I've only done it the one time. So maybe in a couple more listens, but I think now with all the drama that came out right as this album released, it tainted it even more.
I completely agree.
I'm like, I don't know if I could ever care about this album.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I gave it a C or a B. Michael went B. Sean went D. So a C.
That means C.
We'll fill in the gap with a C, I guess.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. I'm surprised. Like the thing that I hate about this compared to the other ones is that there's no S, and I think there is a clear deserving winner of an S here.
Yeah, it's Awakened.
Straight to jail. I give that is insane.
Oh man, that's a tough one.
This is fun, guys.
The fact that there's no S on there and that it's not An Ocean Between Us is probably the most out of every single discography we've done this tier listing for, Sean. That's probably the most heartache I've had.
Dude, we literally spent exactly an hour on this band.
Jeez.
That is insane.
Okay, guys, one more.
We'll
try and make it a little quicker, even though I feel like this is the headlining back. They get the longest time, right?
I feel like this is going to be one where we agree more than any of the other four.
Maybe. Who knows?
All right, here we go. We got Underoath. Oh, man. We begin at Acts of Depression from 1999, correct? This is 99?
Sort of.
I think
so? Came out in 99?
I think it's actually 97?
Is it earlier?
There's like multiple versions of it, but I think like the tape version of it. Oh, it's mostly the album A Love So Pure, which was their very first thing, which was 1998. And I think most of the songs plus a couple extra songs, it like got re-recorded. You know, it's all the same songs.
Said it was released July 4th, 1999 through Take Hold Records.
Yeah, so I think it's a re-recorded version of A Love So Pure, which came out in 1998. Self-released.
Okay, that's fair.
But so it is an old record. But
so this is an Underoath that sounds unlike any other Underoath. Blackened death metal, probably. I think we'd all agree that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's like, I don't listen to it often. It's been years since I've listened to it. I thought it was fun. I was like, this is cool. Like, this is unlike anything else out there for the most part. Like, it's a product of its time. I think what's his face? Why can't I help me out? Dallas's voice. Yeah. It's 12:30. Dallas's vocals are really cool. I like it. I enjoyed this very thoroughly. I really did, much more than I previously had. I haven't listened to this since I got into black metal, which was like maybe 4 years ago when I got into black metal. So it's been a long time since I've listened to this. That being said, I thought it was like pretty decent. I could give it a C and be fine with that. There's enough to enjoy there. I'm also okay with a B, but I'd give it a C because it's not like I'm gonna put it on that often.
A B? Oh
no! Michael's gonna hate me. Michael's gonna hate me.
Is it gonna? Do you think it's like a F, or are you gonna say S?
If I could put this below F, I would.
What?
This album is like Catatonic Youth type level music.
Lyrically, yes.
Oh, musically too. It is. This is.
I think it's.
This is.
I think
bad.
it's so fun.
You're sure you're not getting this confused with Cries of the Past?
Oh no! Oh no! This album is bad. I had like getting through this record was just like ripping off fingernails. It was like, this record is horrendous.
Sometimes, as much as we've agreed this whole time, sometimes I don't understand how your brain works when you listen to music.
Dude,
I really don't.
This album,
it's so
I had out of all, like every album.
Come on, you don't like Burden in Your Hands?
Gosh, no. It's just like, it's like everything.
The lyrics.
I mean, the lyrics for the whole album are horrendous, but like.
Well, it's just kind of fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
The lyric, you should have thought about the baby before you had sex.
Like, that
they
is
just
so
straight
funny.
out said that. It's very, obviously I agree with the position, obviously. But like, I think we all do, but it's just that's not how you word it, and it doesn't make sense inside of that music.
I mean, I agree with the sentiment, because it's like, it's like, oh my gosh, I had a baby. I didn't expect that. I'm like, well, I'm not, there's only one thing that you do to make a baby, I have sympathy for people.
Michael Osborn giving us the birds and the bees on the KingdomCore Podcast.
It's I have
too long, boys.
It's like, I have sympathy and empathy go through that for sure. So I don't want to, whatever. But
the way it's worded,
is so stupid. Like the whole, like this,
it feels like a joke the way it's worded.
Yeah,
how about that?
That's why I feel like this whole record just literally sounds like a joke. It sounds like a caricature of what. Weren't
they like 15 when they wrote it?
I mean, kids make awful stuff all the time, so that's it's whatever. So I can't stand this record. I had no fun, no enjoyability. F. If I could go below F, okay. I give this a G. Like, if I could do it, I would.
So, I tried listening to this years ago, like I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago for the first time. Same. Did not enjoy it then, and this time, I loved it.
What? Chris, what?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, yes.
You don't even like black metal.
I've been getting into it. I'm not like you. Okay. I'm not obsessed with the.
I'm not obsessed with black. Mike is obsessed with black metal.
I am obsessed with black metal.
I've been slowly getting into it more over the last couple of years, but this was actually surprisingly enjoyable. If you
go higher than B, I'm gonna lose it.
Just rip the Band-Aid off. Just do it. Just do it.
All right.
Say it.
No.
Okay.
I would give it an A.
Oh my goodness. What?
This is my an ocean between
what
us.
in the world?
Oh my goodness.
So
we did not listen to the same record. I'm convinced.
Maybe not. I mean, okay. Here's context. I was listening to this record while I was playing Black Ops 6 right after it came out. Like, I was sitting there playing Black Ops 6 and like jamming out to this. I'm like, yeah, this is good.
Oh man. Well,
whoa, so we got ACF. What does that average out at? Does that average as a C or a D?
There's a one gap.
Well, I gave it a G, so
we can do a D.
Okay, I think D is honestly fair.
I'm gonna be
like
mad,
objectively,
though, with the next
objectively, it's a D.
No way.
But these are my subjective like rankings. All right, I'll go into Cries of the Past. So while I kind of enjoyed it and thought it was like kind of charming on Acts of Depression, when Cries of the Past came up right immediately after, I'm like, all right, not another 43 minutes of this. Like, please stop. Make it stop. So I give it a D.
What?
I just didn't like this one as much. I don't know.
man.
Wait. You gave it a B.
No, I said D.
Oh, okay.
D as in dog.
I thought you said B. Okay.
No, D.
Thank goodness.
Because like
I thought
Acts
it
of
was
Depression, when I put it on, I was like, I liked it in like a this is cute kind of way. If that does that make sense? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah,
it's very
it's like
it's novel. It's very much like novel. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like when your kid like makes a picture and they show it to you and you're just like, oh yeah, I'll put it on the fridge, but you know the picture's crap, but it means something to you. Like that's active depression.
Except no, like that album meant nothing to me. I just thought it sounded fun. And they took a lot of risks and I liked that. But anyway, Cries of the Past was kind of unlistenable for me. So I give it like a D.
It is worse than
I'm okay with an F on Cries of the Past. I really am.
Bro, we are on completely different wavelengths.
There's no way you're gonna like this.
This album is so much better than Active Depression.
No, Mike, what is your problem?
It is not even a debate.
What is your problem?
It's not a debate. It's much worse.
Dude, Cries of the Past is so much better than Active Depression.
It's so bad.
So much better. Like the incorporation of keyboards.
I thought we were going to be much more together on this one.
Oh no, not at all. I give this one a C.
Okay, at least it's low, so we can still give it low.
What did you give it, Chris?
Sean, I initially had put Active Depression as an A and Cries of the Past as a B, but I'm going to say it is definitely worse than Active Depression, so we can go E with it.
None of us even said E. I said D.
You said D. I'm saying F. No.
You said you were going to give it a B. What?
It'll have to be a...
If we're going between B, C, and D.
I guess it's a C then.
Oh, no. Yeah, I guess it's probably a C.
Dang it. It is definitely worse, though. I don't like that.
I think Mike's okay with that, though.
I'm fine with that.
We got
ranking.
the changing of times. Who wants to take this one?
Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Okay, so I out of all the records, I'm not a Dallas Taylor Underoath fanatic.
Do you like Maylene?
Maylene, I think, is really cool. I think Maylene is suited way more for what he wanted to do.
That's fair.
Maylene's record 3 is top choice. Changing of Times is fine. I think out of like for that time and like the first Bless the Fall record coming out and this record coming out, I mean, like I think that one's a really fun time, but also it's actually really smartly written. So I give it Changing of Times a B.
Respectable. I give it an A. I'm not a Dallas like super fan or anything. Like I don't really care that much. I like that they were more like Christian lyrically, like earlier on. Like I'm more on that side. I don't mind the cheese. Listening to this album in a modern context after being a fan of them for so long and having only heard the next set of albums for so long. Like I didn't hear the Changing of Times until probably after Disambiguation. But like in the last couple years now, I've heard it a few times and it's super solid. I think it's an A. It's not their best work, but it's high.
Interesting. This one, I have a hard time with this album. I get When the Sun Sleeps is incredible. Such an amazing song. And it's just such an amazing way to open an album, and unfortunately the rest of the record never gets to the same high that that first track opens with. And I feel like the rest of the record is chasing the high from track one, and it never seems to catch up. And because of that, I think in a lot of ways that hurts the album even more, because it makes the rest of the album not as enjoyable when you've already peaked 2 minutes into the album, and then the rest of the album kind of just lull. It can almost feel like a lull waiting for another peak. That being said, I know this album is so near and dear to so many people, and I can't say it's bad. I can't. But in terms of my own personal enjoyment, and in terms of where I have all their other albums, like I probably would say it's a C, because it's just fine for me. It's just fine. There's nothing really bad about it, and if you really love it, that's that's great. Good for you. I'm never going to tell you, well, it sucks, so you shouldn't like it. I feel like you had to be there in 2002, and I think that's fair.
Yeah, so we have an A, B, and a C, right?
Yeah, so B. And I'm okay with it at a B. I'm
okay with it at a B as well.
Knowing how influential it is and all of that.
Okay. This one should be easy. Please make it easy.
I have a feeling Mike's not going to make it easy. I think most people can agree it's an S, even if it's not your favorite of the 3 or 4 pre-breakup Spencer records. I think you can just agree it's an S, even if you like Define the Great Line, Disambiguation, Lost in the Sound better. I think you could still agree this is an S, just considering everything it did for the scene.
I agree.
Would you guys both agree?
It's an
S. To be transparent,
Mike,
is I agree with what you're saying, but I think this record is an A.
Okay.
So we can compromise at S.
Yeah. But
two S's and an A.
Because I think that there are
better.
Fair. I think that there are better records.
I agree.
And I also think
but I don't think those being better take away from how good it is.
I'll get to this in a second, but I think Chasing Safety is the reason why the new Underoath records aren't good. So I'll get to that later.
Okay. I want to, leading into the next one, because I'll just start the next one. It combines together. So they're only chasing safety, I think, through this discography, through the years, like listening this time, but through the years in general. This time I for sure settled it. It's my favorite Underoath record.
Is it?
I wrote down S/A because I understand, and this is where my opinion comes into the Define the Great Line, is easily an S, but I wrote it's technically their best. Like I would say Define the Great Line is their best work, and they're only chasing safety. Like musically, maybe it's just like a hair under, but it's my favorite, and those songs work. And I'm like, it's kind of a weird in between. So I say both are S's, but I can understand they're only chasing safety being an A as well. But
I would agree, because like Define the Great Line, I think is their best, but it's not my favorite. and so I completely agree. So I think we're all
I know
agreed.
which one your favorite is.
S for Define the Great Line, right?
I would put Define the Great Line also at an A. But I am okay with releasing it or saying that it's an S if you guys both say it's an S. But let the record show, I think both those records are actually A's, not S's. But for this purpose, I agree.
All right.
I really hope this isn't leading.
My favorite Underoath record, Lost in the Sound of Separation, S tier. So incredible.
I agree.
Best post-hardcore record ever written.
That is an S tier album. Absolutely. Yes. I think Lost in the Sound is
good.
Is so much better than Define.
Dude, breathing in a new mentality.
Sean said he agrees that Define the Great Line is their best, but then he went on to say that this is the best post-hardcore record ever written.
My favorite.
Okay.
I think Lost in the Sound is significantly
breathing in a
better.
new mentality is unbelievable. This A Fault Line, A Fault of Mine, Too Bright to See, Too Loud to Hear, Desperate Times. Like
this record is flat bangers, dude.
This one,
it just is.
I would say
it creates a mood, dude.
Over the years, this one was definitely one that I didn't really go back to often because all I heard about was those other two.
Right.
But over the years, like some of the songs, I'm like, oh wait, that song is on this record. For some reason, I'm like, I thought that was on Define the Great Line. But I remember Sean talking about this one, I don't know, a couple years ago, like so highly that when I was doing this discography listen to, I was like, okay, like I need to like really focus on this record specifically because I feel like my mind isn't totally made up on it. And I gave it an A. I can understand why it's an S, but like those other two where you like Mike was at an A for those other two, this one's kind of just the opposite. Like the songs connect with me more on the other two, but I can see why this one is absolutely amazing. So that being said, it's 2 S's and an A again. So
let's go. I'm so happy about this list, guys. These are like all my ratings.
This is where I think these next three is where this list gets made or broken.
This is where it gets interesting. Yeah, Mike, I know how you feel about.
All right, just so everyone knows,
so let's take it.
Disambiguation is an S tier record, and that is a hill I'll die on any day of the week. It is absolutely mind-blowing, phenomenal, absolutely masterwork. It's completely different. It's way more raw than maybe the other two records or the last two records were, but it's certainly not radio. It's certainly not processed. Man, it just doesn't get any better than Illuminator and Paper Lung and Who Will Guard the Guardians and Incompletion and In Division. Oh my Lord, this record just does it for me. And I know I am alone in that, but I love this record, and I seriously think people sleep on this record because Aaron is not on it. And Daniel, I think Aaron is a phenomenal drummer, but Daniel is absolutely wild, and he is so technical. And Spencer's cleans on this record don't get to a point where they're too overbearing. It is a perfectly crafted record for what they were trying to do. This record literally sounds like a black hole, and I can't get enough of it. It is so good.
I respect it.
I have to agree with everything Mike's saying. Unfortunately, it still has never connected with me. I see everything you're saying, and I hear what you're saying in my head, but it hasn't transferred down to my heart yet. Like, I don't know. This is a record I slept on for a long time, and every time I listen to it and try to get into it, I'm like, musically, I should be adoring this. I should absolutely love this. It sounds like a perfect progression of Lost in the Sound of Separation. Like, it really does. It flows so well from that album to Disambiguation, but again, for whatever reason, I haven't gotten into it. Part of it might be because I haven't dove into it lyrically. I'm not sure what it's about lyrically. I probably just need more time with this album. I need to just sit down when I'm doing nothing, read the lyrics. That being said, like, I enjoy a lot of songs on the album. Catching Myself is phenomenal. Paper Lung, obviously. If I remember right, I like Vacant Mouth a lot. It's really hard. Like, I want to give an A, but I only enjoy it as much as I enjoy B records. But musically, I can understand.
I 100% agree with you, Sean. Like, that's exactly where I'm lining up the B on this one. But
you're lining up with B. Okay. So if we're both going B and he went S, where's that bring us?
I guess. Or
is that an A? Or do the two B's bring it down?
I would be comfortable with an A because I think that fits.
I'm comfortable with an A. It fits. It's better than Changing of Times.
Yeah.
I like this tier list.
Yeah. I think that was the big thing with this record for me is like, I was just such a huge Aaron Gillespie fan. That missing him on there, just even vocally, like, get rid of the drums doesn't matter too much to me in that case, but missing his vocals was such a huge part for me that I was like, it was so disappointing when it came out.
Yeah.
Other than In Division, I love that song. I love that music video.
Oh, the visuals.
The music video for that song
incredible.
is like one of the best music videos I think in our scene's history.
I completely agree.
Were they still trying to be a Christian band on this record?
There's
I think
like how much
this was when they were kind of like not caring as much, but I don't think they would have said no.
That I know they wouldn't have said, but like lyrically, like how much is there about like faith or whatever?
I think there's a good amount of it on this record.
Is there?
I think that there is, but I also don't feel like it was like the intention was to make like a faith-based record.
And that's fair. That's fair.
You know, I think that like as a Christian, I think that there's something to walk away with this record on a faith base.
Okay,
but
that's
like
fair.
It I mean, the way that I would say it is that there's nothing on this record that goes out of its way to like mock Christians or anything like that.
Oh well, yeah,
you know?
I know that. I know that.
It's a point that I wanted to bring up earlier. It's like out of all the bands that we're talking about on this list, like the only band that walked away from faith and didn't like mock its audience was As I Lay Dying, and I think that that's actually interesting.
I don't know. I feel like Tim mocked it. Maybe not the audience,
not in the music. I don't think, but I think that. I think,
okay, in the music. I thought you meant
music.
Like in general.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. But I think
did Prada mock Christians in their music?
No, I don't think so. But I think live they make such an. I think that they purposely go out of their way to do things that are offensive, to, for that crowd. But As I Lay Dying never went that route with it.
It's fair.
But I think that Disambiguation is a very safe record for Christians to listen to. I don't think there's anything on it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's weird. Yeah. But I walk away with a lot from that record, and I love it. I think it's, like I said, I think it's S tier. So.
Okay.
That can't be said about the next two, but.
Thank you. I was afraid that you were going to go that direction somehow.
Can I start with Erase Me?
Go for it.
So this album is not as bad as everyone says it is.
No.
That being said, it is not a good album. But it is not the worst album ever released like people treat it. There are some songs on there that I can get down to and enjoy. It Has to Start Somewhere is a really good opener.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get, like, when I first went into this record the first time it came out and I heard It Has to Start Somewhere, I was like, wait, are we actually getting old Underoath back?
Yep.
Like, I thought that. Then Rapture came on and I was like, oh no, we're not. And then On My Teeth came on and I was like, no. And then Wake Me and I was like, oh they're a lost cause. They're gone forever. Bloodlust is terrible. Hold Your Breath, I think, is a cool track. Yeah, gosh, this album does suck. It's just not like, it's not an instant F like almost everyone in the Christian scene would give it.
Yeah.
It's just not. Like, I'd give it a D. It just doesn't
that's actually
do
even
anything
lower
for
than
me.
I would give it, but I mean,
Really?
I can see that. So I gave it a C. I'm totally fine with a D, more or less. But I thought it was a very lackluster return.
Very lackluster. Nobody cared.
The album is better than I remember it being upon launch. Like, I hated it at launch. But it doesn't hold up to anything I thought that they've ever done before it. Like, I would say even Cries of the Past I thought was better than this. And I thought Acts of Depression was better than Cries of the Past, for context. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I went and saw them in 2016 for their Rebirth tour. That was a monumental part of my life, where because the changing of time, They're Only Chasing Safety and Define the Great Line were like two important records to me when I was getting into heavy music. And to see the 10th anniversary of both of those albums back to back, all the way through, front to back, was like the most mind-blowing thought. And the fact that Aaron had gotten back with the band, I was like, okay, like, this is amazing. Thanks to some inheritance money, I bought my first car. I got my full license, and I drove down to Seattle by myself for like the first ever time I did my own solo trip.
Dang.
To go and see this tour, and to at the time I was very into the bad Christian community. Like, when the Emery guys were doing that, like, there was a really...
Chris was a bad Christian.
Yeah. I was into what they were doing at first. It kind of delved over the years to something I totally disagree with. But at the time, I was really involved in the community. Like, there was like some chat groups and stuff. And there was, I don't know, 10 of us that met up at a pub just down the road from the venue. And we, I didn't drink or anything, just for the record.
Y'all got plastered.
But
you went up to the bartender and you were like, can I have a glass of chocolate milk?
But we all, pretty much.
Can I get a Shirley Temple?
But yeah, we all chatted, and we like walked to the venue together, and we just hung out the whole time. And we even met Matt Carter from Emery. He was at the show.
Oh, that's so dope.
And so, like, he even, in one of their future podcasts, he even quoted me, because I was like the super naive, dumb kid, even though I was now an adult. I was just like, so why don't you guys ever come to like Vancouver Island? And he's like, oh, well, like, just financially it doesn't make too much sense. And I really didn't understand touring and costs and all that at the time. It was shortly later, or he went into it on a podcast. He's like, yeah, some guy asked me. Like, that was me.
Oh my gosh.
That's so funny.
That's amazing.
But seeing that tour, or that show, and hearing both those albums was so cool. I have footage of it, even though it was technically not allowed to film. And
we got him, boys. Yeah. Come in.
Wow, so what a bad Christian.
I did temporarily get kicked out. They told me I had to go put my camera away.
Oh wow.
That's great. I can tell more about that later. But basically, that was so cool. And then for them to come back, like they still were saying, oh, we don't know if we're making more music and blah blah blah. A few months later, they're like, we're making new music, and I'm like, okay, the hype is real. Few months more goes by, and the interviews start coming out, and they're like, it's Spencer and Aaron kind of bashing Christianity, or like saying it has no place in music, and just talking about that church hurt and like that kind of stuff that was going on. I'm like, oh no. And then when this record drops, and some of those lyrics, beyond just the swearing and the cussing and stuff, but like some of the lyrics are specifically kind of pointed in that direction. I'm like, that was one of those moments where it's like, this just kind of cuts to the bone a little bit. So all that to say, I think this was, to this point, this was their worst record. And I would I gave it a C initially, but I would be totally fine with a D.
I think this is a D on a good day.
Okay, sweet. It's going to go even lower.
Yeah,
It's D.
this is the best way I can describe this, and it kind of ties into voyeurist in a way. Is that I
we'll give it an E for Erase Me.
Dude, is this the first E?
No, I think we did have one because of us.
Did we?
I think there was one earlier. And it was just because somebody gave it an F and the other guys gave it Ds or something like that.
So. Gotcha.
Was it? Okay.
I don't think it's worse than active depression, though. So, but all I'll say is like
definitely worse.
This album is the best way I can describe this album is that it sounds like a midlife crisis.
Heavy it is
because like I really keep up with a lot of the Underoath. Like, okay, so it's like a trend I have. I'm sure you guys have this too, but like for Chasing Safety all the way through Disambiguation, I have the deluxe editions and it comes with the DVD. And each album that they've ever done comes with a documentary. And Erase Me was no different. And Voyeurist is no different, but it was more podcast form. And the podcast or the documentary for Erase Me was mind blowing for me. I forget what it's called.
What do you mean?
Because it was mind blowing to me.
It was like a behind the scenes documentary.
Yeah, like a behind the scenes documentary.
Right, but what was mind blowing about it?
It was mind blowing of how they were treating the identity of the band and how they went into this record. Because the guy who produced this record, this is like the first one that they didn't go with Matt Goldman. Because Goldman, they did James Paul Wisner for the first three. So they did that for, I know Cries of the Past and Chasing Safety. I don't know about Active Depression. And then they went with Matt Goldman and Adam D from Killswitch Engage for Define the Great Line and Lost in the Sound. Then Matt Goldman just did Disambiguation. The guy who did Erase Me does a lot of like pop records and does a lot of, he did like the first Panic at the Disco record. He's done a lot of, he's done a lot of like high radio records. And the reason why they went with him for this record is that they said, well, if we go back with Matt Goldman, you know, it'll just feel safe. And we don't want to feel safe on this record. And we want to do something that's just completely different. And we just want to make a record that we've always wanted to make because we've never been able to make the record we've wanted to make. And I was just hearing all of this and I was like, none of this makes sense because I'm listening to the record and it sucks. And it's like everything they're talking about. And this ties into Voyeurist.
Because they say the same thing with that record. Too.
They went into Voyeurist, and you can listen to this because the Labeled podcast did like a docu series on Voyeurist. And just listen to the first episode. That's all you need to listen to, because all the other episodes are just like a track by track. But this sets up the record, and the entire band regrets Erase Me, and they went on an entire tirade over Erase Me is the first record that we've ever made that we're happy with. Erase Me is the first record we've ever made that we weren't held back or constrained or for anything. And then they go into Voyeurist, and Aaron straight up told Tim, like, dude, you effed us over. Like, this record is awful and this is the worst thing. And it just became like this super dramatic release. And
do you think the fan reception to it changed Aaron's view of it?
I think so, because I think that they just get so lost in their own heads, because like the reality is that like they released 4 records that are monumental to this. Well, really 3 records that are monumental. Between Chasing Safety, Define the Great Line, and Lost in the Sound. And I think that I think that when Underoath came back together, they actually have no identity of why people actually listen to Underoath. You know, because Chasing Safety is very accessible and very radio friendly. And then you have Define the Great Line, which is probably one of the most avant-garde records out there. And then you have Lost in the Sound, which is even more avant-garde than I would say Define the Great Line is. And these are the monumentalness. And so their thought was, we want to do something we've never done before and make a pop record, basically. Erase Me is basically the most pop that this band gets. And to me, this record is a total misfire of anything identity of Underoath. Everything on this record is sing along. That's like they have all the choruses, they have all the safe things, and it's like that's not that. Like the majority of their discography is not safe. The majority of their discography
Not at all.
is doing things outside of the norm. And so when they were like, Erase Me is the only record we've ever made that we're happy with, and it's exactly what we wanted it to be, and it's the most safe, corporate, like radio friendly album they've ever made, and then they're complaining that nobody liked it and that Tim screwed them over for writing it. And so the response to Voyeurist was, we're just going to do a record ourselves and call it ourselves. And you know what? They still messed it up. and so all I say is I give Voyeurist I give Voyeurist probably a C. I gave Erase Me a D because I do think that is probably their worst record besides Active Depression.
Oh, totally.
But Voyeurist, like musically, is really cool. I think musically, like it's something I can really like bob my head to and be like, these are really cool ideas. I think the record flows really weird. There's a lot of inconsistencies with it. Lyrically, this album's unbearable.
Yes.
It is like
yes,
it's lyrically it's absolutely unbearable. Just because
this is by far their worst.
Yeah,
lyrically, it's worse than Erase Me. Lyrically,
yeah, both obviously, but I thought this was another level of bad for lyrics.
And my thing is this is like, I mean, this is like personal philosophy. Like, I don't mind cussing in music. I also don't mind people talking bad about faith in music. I don't, because my theory, not my theory, but my feeling on this is that we created words and we assign definitions to them. And we also assign offense to them. And so if I choose to not be offended by something, then I have power over the word. And so I don't mind cussing in lyrics. I also don't mind if there's something that's maybe challenging for me to process. But what I can't stand in lyrics is that when you're using coarse language or pointing it at something and what you're saying literally doesn't mean anything, that's when it gets to a point where I'm like, this is just trash writing. I think there's no significance to Hallelujah's lyrics besides using a whole bunch of like Christian terms to describe I don't really know what. I think there was this one song, I forget what it's called. No, I'm going to bring it up because it's important. I think it's We're All Gonna Die. That's just so disrespectful to
that song is so dumb.
It's like you're not saying anything significant. Okay, so like this is an example, but have y'all heard of Architects? You know, the Architects. Yeah. Okay, they're pretty. Their lyrics are very prominently atheist, but I really like Architects. I think Architects makes really provocative stuff, and I think it's really cool. But their song Broken Cross, if you've ever heard the lyrics to Broken Cross, it's very hard for me to listen to that song as a Christian. But then when you read the blog post about what it's talking about, I can at least understand why they're saying what they're saying, because what they're talking about actually isn't what I'm processing with my faith. And it makes me process things, and understand their perspective. With this album, it's just so whiny. It's so middle school. It's like the cliches of people who are anti-faith or have a problem with faith. And there's something about it that just feels so, I just want to make something that's offensive and edgy and angry because that's just how I feel. But I'm not giving anything of actual substance or critiques of anything. I'm just angry. And Voyeurist suffers from this so greatly because I feel like musically it's such a step up from Erase Me. And it just suffers so much because it's just so annoying lyrically. Yeah. Like, you can write an anti-Christian record and I'll listen to it if you give me something thought-provoking to think about. That's basically the majority of black metal, but even people who write anti-Christian lyrics in like black metal still have respect for Christians and will play shows with them, it just, but this just feels so pointed and so immature, and it just really blows my mind over how poorly they're written, especially. I'm going on a tirade. This is the last thing I'll say, but like, especially with how poetic and how poised the lyrics are on basically chasing safety through disambiguation. There's genuinely thought-provoking, poised lyrics, and this is just "F you."
And
I'm
not
angry.
one single swear word.
Yeah, you don't have to. You never have to get to that point.
Yeah,
and it's just such a massive misstep for me.
That's where I like what you were talking about lyrically, and you were like, I'm, for you, like, you're okay with cussing, you're okay with, like anti-Christian lyrics, essentially. For me, when I'm listening to music, and this is Christian or non-Christian, like, there are very few bands that I will give the pass to if they have an E on their track, or sometimes bands don't even put the E, even though there should be an E, or like whatever, like, even if it's, the S word, or especially the F, like, all these typical swear words. It's like, I think in 99.9% of use cases in music today, those words have a way better way of being said in your song without the use of it. And like, it just comes across as lazy. Like, it's, and the way that this band has devolved into this for this album, and plus the anti-Christian rhetoric in a lot of it, especially that one song, it's just like, it's kind of laughable when they're saying those words as 40-year-old men that are trying to be 15-year-old, 20-year-old kids making metal music and thinking they're making good music.
These people are fathers. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, like, they all have kids. It's like, guys, you need to, like, take
Be
a
a better
take
example.
note out of your book and chill out. Like, it's mind-blowing that, like, even outside of wanting to make provocative music, or to, like, you have this strong resentment towards whatever it is that you came from, it's like, there are way better and more thought-provoking ways of doing it than to just drop an F-bomb 50 times in your track just because. Like, it doesn't make you cool.
Like, exactly. I mean, I think, like, I'm a big Knocked Loose guy, and I know that their new record is a critique on Christianity and stuff like that. And I still think the lyrics and the intention of that record has more thought into that record over what they were trying to craft
100%.
than anything on Voyeurist. I just think Voyeurist is just
100%.
angry. And I think Knocked Loose is trying to craft something way more in depth. And
they're crafting it around their anger, or like,
exactly. I love.
They're also never just like going after God, despite what some people think on Blinding Faith. They're going after like people who claimed to follow God who hurt them. Yeah. But anyway, that's another. But anywho, I couldn't agree. Talking about Voyeurist, I couldn't agree more with what Michael said originally, and you too, Chris. Just about this album is lazy. Musically, it's definitely a step up from Erase Me, but because the lyrics are just so cringeworthy and so unintelligent, it shows a lack of critical thinking, being able to see a problem, something that you view as a problem, and not being able to voice your concerns with it, or your feelings towards this problem, or your solutions in a productive way, in a way in which it shows that you even have any ounce of critical thinking skills. You just hate this concept, and you're not gonna like try to figure out, why do people believe in this concept, or why do I hate this concept? You're not gonna take it further. You're not gonna say, I once believed in this concept and now I don't believe it, but I'm struggling with the fact that I no longer believe something that was my identity for so long. Because we've had several I can't think off the top of my head, but there's been so many bands out there who, like Manchester Orchestra. I don't know if you guys listen to them, but
Totally,
that's a band where Andy, grew up. I want to say he grew up like Catholic, but he grew up around the Christian faith, and so much of his lyrics are just about questioning faith that he no longer has, and coming to terms with how hard it is to question something and not believe in something you sort of believed in your whole life. And I think those lyrics are so thought-provoking, and as a Christian I listen to those, and it raises questions to me where I feel like I can empathize better with people where who are going through this, who have been hurt, who don't know why they should believe in Christianity. Meanwhile, I listen to Underoath on Voyeurist, and it's very hard to have compassion and empathy when I just see essentially a bunch of Reddit moderators, a bunch of rhetoric you see from Discord mods or whatever about if God real, why bad thing happen type thing.
Right.
And so all that to say, I think this record, like musically, if it had good thought-provoking lyrics, this could easily be an A record. I really do.
I agree with that. I really do.
I think it changes the record so much, but unfortunately, it's so lazy lyrically that it actually affects it musically, which is not something that happens too often. And for that reason, I think it's a C. I really do.
That's still higher than I thought it would have been.
Yeah.
Because I know what they're going for. I know what they're trying to do musically. And I've seen some of it live. Like I finally saw them live for the first time a couple years back, and they played probably 4 songs off of this, and it sounded good. And I was Hallelujah sounded really good live. As terrible as the lyrics are and how stupid it is and offensive, musically I was like, this makes sense.
Yeah.
But it just falls so flat for me and feels so lazy and feels incredibly uninspired.
I agree. I mean, even when they released like the live stream audio, because they did like the live streams for all their records.
I didn't even bother with that.
Except it's ambiguation, which is offensive to me. But they did a live stream of Voyeurist, and I think they call it Digital Ghost or whatever.
Yeah,
and I prefer listening to that more than I do the studio, because, like you said, like the live version of it is just wild. It's so good. I just think the lyrics are just they're just lazy. It's my problem with Bring Me the Horizon too. Like, I think musically they're incredible, but I think Ollie is such a bad lyric writer. Just even if he had something to say, at least rhyme or something.
All the strays.
It's not. But
not to mention they were a match made in heaven when it came to lazy lyric writing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. They're a mess. But all that to say, I give Voyeurist a D for sure. Or
I could give it a D. I'll give it a D. I'll give it a D.
I initially gave it a D, but like lyrically, it's an F. Like, this is
I'll give it a D.
An E.
D.
Yeah. So triple D's. Dang it! That's not what it. Okay. Never. I just made everybody stumble. So my bad.
I'll just wait till it gets more Diatheke.
There we go.
Okay, well, I'm gonna move that, unfortunately, onto this page.
We did.
At least I agree with the top 4.
Yeah,
I agree with the top 4. I actually agree with this, except I would switch Change It at Times and Active Depression.
Same.
And then it would be like those, actually mine.
I would put that actually up at B.
Wow.
This is the closest one to my own personal tier list, and I'm very happy about it.
Wow.
Guys, we did it. We made it.
We did it, guys.
4.5 hours later for recording. 4 hours into probably when this gets edited down. It's probably about 4 hours.
This is gonna be like an episode of the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh my lord, dude!
Wes Huff for the win,
dude. That interview was amazing.
The Mel Gibson episode just dropped, and that actually had some good Jesus talk in it too. Anywho, thank you, Michael, for joining us, for being our first guest for tier listing.
Yeah, for real, dude. This was awesome.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
This was fun.
This is. Oh man, I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man. We are so excited for more people to check out Diatheke.
Dude,
you guys,
I can't wait for this album.
You guys are not
and
ready.
The Word Was God comes out when again?
March 21st.
March 21st. Cannot get here soon enough.
Yeah, we have a single out now. I mean, when do you think this will come out? Like before Valentine's Day?
A week or two.
Oh, okay.
Definitely.
Okay, cool. So I was going to say our next single whenever that come out, but
this will probably take me a week to edit.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, we have our new single out now. We have vinyl and CD and a whole bunch of T-shirts ready to go. We got a box set that we're super stoked on. Go check it out. Let us know what you think, and support KingdomCore, support For the Rock. You guys are awesome. Thanks for having me. This was awesome. This was like the best way to spend 5 hours. So,
thank you. Appreciate it.
So good. All right, everybody. We will see you sometime soon.